Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. American Comics. Phil Money Can Become Infinitely Stronger. Chapter 1. Year 2008. United States, New York. On the street, a slightly embarrassed Asian was reading a newspaper. In the newspaper, it was the news that Tony Stark announced that he was Iron Man at the press conference. Seeing the familiar face of Tony Stark, and seeing the familiar photo of Mark's armor next to him, Shu Hong understood that he had traveled to the Marvel world. Have you traveled to the Marvel world? And it's still in New York. This kind of luck is no one else. Shu Hong put down the newspaper and complained. As we all know, New York in the Marvel world is a disaster for ordinary people. Because there will be many wars in New York in the future, which is very unfriendly to people living in New York. Shu Hong is a time traveler. He was thrown into this world 2 days ago. Because he has no identity, he is a black household. Even if he wanted to find a place to work, he couldn't do it. With no money, he became a homeless man and slept on the street for 2 days. It wasn't until today when he picked up a newspaper and saw the familiar face of Tony Stark on the newspaper that he realized that he had traveled to the world of Marvel movie universe. But as an ordinary person, what can I do when I travel to the Marvel world? Now he doesn't even have an identity, he's just a black householder. Even if he has an identity, Shu Hong can't guarantee that he will be among the half of the creatures that Thanos wiped out with the snap of his fingers in the future. Even if the people from the Avengers rescued everyone back, the feeling that life and death are controlled by others is really uncomfortable. Ding, Phil Money will become stronger and the system is starting. Successful startup. Start binding host. Bind successfully. The only host, Shu Hong. System. Shu Hong became excited when he heard the voice in his head. It turns out that he also has a system. Although I came 2 days late, it's good that you came, otherwise he wouldn't know what to do next. But the name of this system, Phil Money, strengthens the system. This is not a system developed by an old horse, right? At this moment, a wave of information entered Shu Hong's brain. Shu Hong's brain went down for a few seconds. After a while, Shu Hong came back to his senses. Understand the function of the system. It's a very powerful system. So strong that as long as you have money, you can buy anything you can think of. Whether it is novels, film and television dramas or movies that I have read in the past, things in anime. As long as you have money, you can buy from the system. Definitely, provided you have money. The value of some things, just the string of zeros behind it, can make people dizzy. What Superman bloodlines, Super Saiyan bloodlines, bald-headed limit breakers, a 9-turn elixir that can make people immortal, and prehistoric treasures can all be bought in the system. But the series of zeros behind the item made Shu Hong's eyes go blank. You can't afford it, you can't afford it. System, is there no novice gift package? Ding, newbie gift packs are being distributed. Successful distribution, whether the host has opened the novice gift package. Open, Shu Hong said to the system directly with his thoughts without any hesitation. Newbie gift pack opens. Ding, congratulations to the host for acquiring the skill, plane transfer. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting a free selection of items in the discount area. Phil Money will strengthen the system. Host, Shu Hong. Age, 22. Race, human race. Shou Yuan, 85. Money, $0 PS. Because it is American comics, it is set to US dollars, which is more convenient. Items, a free selection coupon for items in the discount area, you can choose one item for free in the system discount product area. Ability, plane teleportation. Cooling time is half a month, can be upgraded with money, reducing cooling time. Plane teleportation, this skill is not intentional by the system, it's not enough for me to plunder one plane, I have to plunder other planes. But for me, this skill is very useful. Although Shu Hong complained about the system, he had ulterior motives. But he also understands that this ability is actually of great benefit to him. Because it allows him to develop faster. So he was just complaining. Shu Hong is actually very happy that this skill is offered in the novice gift package. Then Shu Hong manipulated the system with his mind to open the product discount area. As the name suggests, this is a random product discount area. The value of the products in this discount area will be discounted according to the random refresh of the system. Products and discounts are refreshed every 7 days. Today's product discount area is 20% off. But it's useless for Shu Hong to offer a few discounts, because he doesn't have a dime now. However, he has a role that can directly select items without spending money. But Shu Hong didn't hold out too much hope, thinking that something great could be done, because there are too many things in the system, and the items in the discount area are random. There will be good things, and the bigger ones may be some bad things. And there are not many items on the shelves in the discount area. Only 10 kinds of products are put on the shelves at one time, which is a very tasteless function. Shu Hong can only hope that there will be some good things in the discount area this time. Commodity discount area. This discount is 20% off the whole site. Product 1. A high-quality white porcelain bowl, characteristic beautiful, price, $20. Commodity 2. Future special weight loss sportswear, feature accelerate fat burning, price, $800. Product 3. A box of red Fuji apples, characteristic, sweet, price, $25. Commodity 4. Extraordinary in acacia sands, feature lewdness, selling price, $200. Commodity 5. Product 6. Commodity 9. Wolverine's super self-healing regeneration ability, characteristic undead, price, $320 million US. Product 10. Universal capsule technology, characteristics space, selling price, $88 billion. After seeing all the products, Shu Hong was surprised. He didn't expect that he was so lucky to meet two good things. The previous ones are directly ignored. Shu Hong's line of sight fell directly on the line of sight of Commodity 9 and Commodity 10. Item 9. Needless to say, in X-Men, Wolverine's self-healing ability is definitely the top. It is precisely because of this ability that Wolverine Logan's strength is in the X-Men, and he can also be ranked in the first echelon, so that he will not fall to the second echelon. Its selling price is exaggerated, $320 million US. You must know that this is still a 20% discount. If there is no discount, the price will be a full $400 million US. To Shu Hong, such a figure is tantamount to an astronomical figure. It is difficult for him to earn it in a short period of time, and he cannot even earn it for a lifetime. Definitely, compared to Commodity 9, the price of Commodity 10 is even more exaggerated, a full $88 billion. This is an even more exaggerated figure. But in Shu Hong's view, product number 10 fits the price. Universal Capsule, from Dragon Ball, is a black technology in the world of Dragon Ball. With this technology, the Bulma family directly became the richest man in the world of Dragon Ball. Therefore, the price of Universal Capsule technology is $88 billion US, which is in line with his status. Shu Hong even thinks this guy is low. In Shu Hong's view, even if the Universal Capsule technology sells for $1 trillion US, it is not expensive. Seriously, Shu Hong really wants to use the free selection of volume selection Universal Capsule technology in discount area items. But he didn't do that. Because he knew very well that even if he switched to this skill, it was impossible for him, an ordinary person, to be able to keep this skill. The final result may be to be imprisoned. After he matures this technology, he will lose its value and be disposed of. He is just an ordinary person. He is afraid of death. Once he is targeted by those rich people, he doesn't think he has the willpower to withstand their threats. Because he does not have a strong strength as a confidence. Tony Stark regarded Obadiah as his half-father, but in order to monopolize the Stark industry, Obadiah chose to deal with Tony Stark. If it weren't for those who kidnapped him suddenly changed their minds and wanted Tony Stark, a genius, to help them develop weapons. Tony Stark is dead long ago, and there will be no Iron Man behind him. So Shu Hong will not bet on the conscience of those capitalists at all. Because a person with a conscience cannot become a capitalist at all. So Shu Hong finally chose Commodity 9. Use the free selection coupons for items in the discount area on item 9. System, use the coupon for free selection of items in the discount area, and select item 9. Successfully selected. Host gains ability, super self-healing regeneration. As the system's words fell, Shu Hong immediately felt a warm current appear in himself. It's like being in a hot spring, which is indescribably comfortable. The makeover lasted half a minute. After half a minute, the renovation is complete. There is no black dirt after the transformation. But Shu Hong could clearly feel the changes in himself. Both strength and endurance have improved a bit. Phil money will strengthen the system. Host, Shu Hong. Age, 22. Race, human race. Shou Yuan, 350. Money, $0 PS, because it is American comics, it is set to US dollars, which is more convenient. Item, none. Ability, plain teleportation, cooling time of half a month, can be upgraded with money to reduce cooling time, super self-healing regeneration. In the system data panel, Shu Hong's data has been changed. Added a super self-healing regeneration to ability. There is another change, that is, his longevity changed from 85 to 350. Obviously, obtaining the super self-healing regeneration ability has increased Shu Hong's lifespan, allowing him to live longer. He might even look like Wolverine and never age. It may also be that the rate of aging is slower than ordinary people. But it doesn't matter, he has a system, even if this ability can't make him stay young forever, just buy a Zuyan Dan in the system. That stuff isn't cheap though. But as long as his strength improves, that price is nothing to him in the future. Having super self-healing regeneration ability, my life safety is also greatly guaranteed. It is already difficult to kill me by ordinary means. Even if the Muhai bomb explodes, as long as it is not in the most central area, it will be difficult to kill me. Compared to Logan, my only weakness is that his bones are not adamantium. As for his combat awareness and other abilities, it doesn't affect me. Now that I have enough self-protection ability, it's time for me to start the plane transfer and go to other worlds. For Shu Hong, he doesn't have any good money-making projects in the Marvel world, and there are many big shots in this world, especially Ancient One. Shu Hong doesn't want to be targeted by the opponent yet. Therefore, it is most suitable for Shu Hong to use the ability of plane transfer to develop in other worlds. Because the Marvel Universe wasn't a good fit for his early development. Follow Shu Hong's thought. Plane teleportation ability activates. In the next second, Shu Hong disappeared by the side of the road. But because Shu Hong is just a homeless man, no one pays attention to him at all. So his disappearance did not attract the attention of passers-by around him. Most people don't even know that there was another person there before. Time, May 2002. Location, United States, Georgia. On the side of the road, Shu Hong's figure suddenly appeared out of thin air. For Shu Hong, it felt like a moment, when the scene changed, and he came to a whole new world. Shu Hong looked around and began to observe his current situation. He found himself standing on an asphalt road. Not far away is a small forest. About 3 or 4 kilometers away from him, you can see the existence of houses, which should be a small town. Shu Hong's eyes quickly fell on the road sign on the side of the road. The text on it was written in English, 4 kilometers ahead, the small town of Croatia. A small town in Croatia, it doesn't sound like a small town in the United States. Shu Hong was curious, but still head towards the direction of the town. He had to figure out what kind of world this was. The next thing is to make money. The distance of 4 kilometers is not close. Shu Hong walked for about 40 minutes before arriving. What puzzled Shu Hong was that he didn't encounter a passing car along the way. There are even a lot of scrapped cars parked on the side of the road. There was no one in the car, and it looked very dilapidated. After entering the town, Shu Hong found that the town was also very strange. Because it was too quiet. Can't even see a single person. Shu Hong frowned. Where have all the people in this world gone? Just as he was thinking about it, Shu Hong suddenly heard a roar of "Yiya" and "Yiya" coming from not far away. Shu Hong ran towards the direction of the sound. Soon, he saw what was making the sound. The target was a walking rotting corpse. Several humanoid monsters were slowly advancing on the road in the town. The voice Shu Hong heard was from them. Their image reminded Shu Hong of a classic American TV show, The Walking Dead. This made Shu Hong wonder if he had come to the world of The Walking Dead. Soon, Shu Hong broke into an empty room. Search for something in it. He has nothing on him now. Even with super self-healing regeneration ability, he still needs to eat. And he needs a weapon to defend himself. He didn't want to get too close to the disgusting walking corpse. Definitely, he can buy these things directly from the system with money. But the problem is, he doesn't have a dime on him now. But Shu Hong was lucky, he quickly found a lot of dollars from that room. There are about $2,000, and 3 small gold bars. This should belong to the owner of this house. Shu Hong did not see the photo hanging in the room, it was a middle-aged Caucasian couple. As for where they are now, Shu Hong doesn't care. System, recycling. Holding US dollars and gold bars, Shu Hong directly chose to recycle. As his words fell, the gold in his hands disappeared, but the US dollars remained in his hands. System, what's going on? Why haven't the dollars been recovered? There is no government in this world, the currency system has collapsed, and the US dollar in this world has no currency value, so it will not be recycled. I'll go, this is too bad. Shu Hong originally thought that if it was the world of Walking Dead, then he would go directly to the bank to pick up money. Unexpectedly, after the currency system of this world collapsed, the system would not recognize the currency of this world, and would not recycle it at all. Fortunately, gold can also be recycled. Phil money will strengthen the system. Host, Shu Hong. Age, 22. Race, human race. Shou yuan, 350. Money, $5,460. PS. This book sets an ounce of gold at $1,820, and a small gold bar is 1 ounce. Item, none. Ability, plain teleportation. Cooling time of half a month, can be upgraded with money to reduce cooling time. Super self-healing regeneration. Open the personal panel. The money column is finally not 0 eggs, but more than $5,000. This number is not much, but for Shu Hong now, it is very useful. Afterwards, Shu Hong bought a whole set of equipment for himself directly from the system. A new set of sports tights, a pair of military boots, a large travel bag, a sharp tang knife. In addition, there is a locked pistol and a spare magazine. In addition, there are 10 cans of canned food such as braised beef, braised pork, braised trotters, and canned yellow peaches. It's all in that big travel bag. It adds up to about 30 caddies. But for Shu Hong, who has integrated the super self-healing regeneration ability and his strength has almost doubled, it is not too heavy, so he can easily carry it on his back. After eating and drinking, Shu Hong continued to rummage in the room. See if you can find more gold, or valuable jade or diamonds. Unfortunately not. He did find some newspapers, though. When seeing the words, "Resurrected Dead Man, Atlanta Disease Center," in the newspaper, Shu Hong was basically sure that he had indeed come to the world of Walking Dead. This is good news for Shu Hong, because this means that there is no weapon or person in this world that can threaten the super self-healing regeneration ability. As for the virus in the world of the Walking Dead, this thing is nothing at all. The system is full of various medicines that can kill the virus. The cheapest immune medicine is only $50 in the system, which is very cheap. With this thing, there is no need to worry about contracting viruses or being bitten by Walking Dead. And human beings are convenient. With super self-healing regenerative ability, Shu Hong is not even afraid of Muhai bullets. Will you be afraid of some people who take out rockets at most and don't even have strategic weapons? It can be said that in this world, Shu Hong can completely walk sideways. Moreover, he can take all the wealth in this world by himself. But the world is so big and there are so many banks. He can't get gold one by himself. So Shu Hong first set a goal for himself. That is to build a large survivor base. Then he became the boss of the survivor base, gathered a group of younger brothers, and asked them to help him find valuable things such as gold, gems, and jade. Shu Hong asked the system, as long as the currency system has not collapsed, banknotes can be recycled, but if the currency system collapses, it is no different from waste paper. On the contrary, things like gold, jade, and precious stones can be recycled directly. Definitely, in terms of price, it is certainly impossible to be as high as the real world. After all, the prices of many gemstones and jade are speculated by people. Whether it is originally worth that value is subject to negotiation. But mosquitoes are meat even when they are small, right? Chris is a survivor. In the initial stage of the virus outbreak, he survived the first wave of the virus with his good physique. But his family was not so lucky. His parents died of a virus and turned into monsters. He ended up having to dispose of them himself. This caused him great pain. Even once desperate, but the fear of death still cheered him up. But now, he is facing a big dilemma, that is, he has no food. He ate the last can of beans yesterday. And he didn't have much drinking water. Since today, he hasn't eaten anything, only drank something. He is very hungry now. He has to go out to find food, otherwise he won't last a few days. But going out represents risk. No one knows where those monsters are hiding. Once he encounters a large group of monsters, his life may be in danger. He saw with his own eyes a person surrounded by those monsters, then torn apart alive and eaten clean. He didn't want to be food for those monsters. Just when he didn't feel hesitation, and hadn't fully made up his mind whether to go out or not. Suddenly there was a car horn outside. He was startled. Then run straight to the window. I saw a black pickup truck stopped immediately. The pickup truck stopped in the middle of the road and kept honking its horn. The horn is loud. It quickly attracted dozens of nearby monsters. God, is that guy crazy? Seeing this scene, Chris was stunned. Chris originally thought that the other party was just planning to print those monsters, and then drove away. But to his surprise, the black pickup did not leave. Instead, the driver's door opened. He wouldn't want to kill all those monsters by himself, how could it be possible? Just as he was thinking, an Asian about 1.8 meters tall stepped out of the car. He held a long knife more than 1 meter long in his hand, which looked a bit like Bushido in a small book. This person is none other than Shu Hong. Shu Hong intends to clean up the town of walking corpses, and then surround the town as his initial safe base. As for honking the horn, the purpose is to attract the walking corpses in the town. Definitely, there is also the idea of appealing to survivors. But Shu Hong thinks the chances of any survivors in this town are low. He didn't hold out much hope for that. Hold the tang knife in your hand tightly. The walking corpse looks scary, but its combat power is actually very low. As long as you are brave enough to overcome the fear of walking dead, as long as you have a weapon in hand, you can easily kill them. Definitely, provided you're not surrounded by a horde of walking dead. Shu Hong dared to do this because he had great strength and stamina stronger than ordinary people, so he dared to do it. For this reason, he also specially purchased a cold weapon proficiency skill from the system. This allows Shu Hong to skillfully control any cold weapon. The price was $3,500, plus the other items purchased before. The balance of Shu Hong's account was emptied directly. But the effort is worth it, because the proficiency of this cold weapon has greatly increased Shu Hong's combat effectiveness. Holding the tang knife in one hand, he danced a beautiful sword flower casually. Shu Hong swung his saber out. He looked towards the head of the walking corpse closest to him. The tang knife is produced by the system and is very sharp. After all, this tang dao cost Shu Hong a full $680, which is the most expensive product except for the skill of cold weapon proficiency. It's a bit too much to say that it's cutting iron like mud, but it's almost the same. The walking corpse's head, which was oxidized by the virus, was easily cut apart by the tang knife. A walking corpse, so easy to solve. Then came the second, and then the third. Shu Hong is like playing a game of chopping vegetables. In a short time, he easily eliminated all the walking corpses that surrounded him. Shu Hong was also sweating from work. His current stamina is at least 3 times stronger than before. But after all, it has not reached the point of being very exaggerated. After waving it so many times, I still feel a little tired. However, he recovered quickly. Within half a minute of rest, he was almost recovered. For Shu Hong, cleaning up these walking corpses is easy, but the aftermath is troublesome. After all, it is definitely not acceptable to leave these corpses here. He needs to deal with these corpses. Fortunately, there are tractors in this town. Shu Hong directly drove the tractor, came over and pulled all the corpses of these walking corpses out of the town, where they were burned in a centralized manner. All of this was seen by Chris. At this moment, he has begun to doubt life. He seriously suspected that Shu Hong's evolution had left them humans behind. When Shu Hong sent the corpse of the walking corpse out twice and came back for the third time, Shu Hong saw Chris standing there. This made Shu Hong slightly taken aback. Obviously, that guy should be a survivor in this small town. Shu Hong was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there were survivors in this small town. Shu Hong drove the car over. Chris was a little nervous. He was definitely afraid that Shu Hong would be difficult to get along with. However, he was relieved when he found that Shu Hong had a smile on his face when he saw him. First of all, hello, sir, I don't mean anything malicious, my name is Chris, and I am a survivor from Kryat Town. I have seen what you just did to eliminate those walking corpses. You were really amazing. Chris introduced himself first by his name. Then he praised Shu Hong for a while. Definitely, it's not right to say it's flattering, because what he said is what Shu Hong just did. Human beings will unconsciously feel fear and awe for the strong among their kind. Chris is no exception. Chris, right, you can call me Shu. Shu Hong nodded. How about mixing with me in the future? In such a world full of monsters, you can only survive if you follow a strong man like me. Definitely, I have no reason to refuse, Boss Shu. Call me boss from now on. Okay, boss. Chris was in awe of Shu Hong. Especially after seeing Shu Hong's powerful fighting power. Boss, why do you want to clean up these monsters in the town? Do you plan to live here? Yes, I plan to transform the town into a survivor base. Starting from a small town, I will slowly expand into a city of survivors. This is my pursuit, do you understand? Shu Hong looked at Chris and said. Chris nodded, he was stunned by Shu Hong's words. It's just not possible. But in this case, he obviously could only think about it in his heart, and couldn't say it out. Okay, do you know this thing? Shu Hong pointed to the tractor. Chris nodded. Well, next, you will be responsible for driving and transporting the corpses of these monsters outside the town. I will gather the corpses of these monsters and burn them. Look at your appearance, you haven't eaten anything today. Chris nodded. Actually, I have been out of food since yesterday. I have only drank a little water since I woke up this morning. Here are 2 canned beef and 2 canned fruits for your lunch and dinner. I have other things to deal with now. I will come to check your work in the afternoon. If you don't do well enough, I won't care about you. If you do well, then you can always follow me in the future. By the way, I still have a weapon here. You can use it for self-defense. You can shoot if you encounter danger. I came back when I heard the movement. There are not many bullets, just 2 clips, save some money. After giving everything to Chris, Shu Hong then turned and left. He has almost cleaned up the walking corpses in the town. Then the next step is to search home one by one. He doesn't need food, his goal is gold, gems, jade and the like. Chris watched Shu Hong leave. People are a little stunned. Shu Hong surprised him by giving him food. You must know that this is the end of the world, and food is very precious. The other party directly gave him 2 cans of beef and 2 cans of fruit. These things are nothing before the end of the world, but after the end of the world, they are definitely good things among the good things. You know, he hasn't eaten meat for 2 months. Don't look at him as thin now, but before the outbreak of the virus, he was actually a fat man of nearly 300 kgs, but he was hungry and thin. Shu Hong gave him food and gave him weapons. This gave him an emotion called being trusted. At the same time, he silently made up his mind to follow Shu Hong from now on. After spending the whole afternoon, Shu Hong ransacked all the houses in the whole town. He was not satisfied with the delivery, because he found nothing in many houses. Definitely, there are still some retractions. There are more than 100 houses in this small town. There is always a room where a lot of things are left behind. In terms of gold, Shu Hong got 20 ounces, not too much. Jade and precious stones were not found at all. Received not many. 20 ounces, let the system recycle, but Shu Hong's balance has increased by $36,400. Not much, but enough for now. This also made Shu Hong understand that if you want gold, you still have to go to the bank. After spending some money, I repurchased myself a lock pistol with 2 magazines. Shu Hong found Chris. When Shu Hong found him, this guy was eating canned food. He has already done what Shu Hong asked him to do. Then the 2 drove to the place outside the town where the dead bodies were released with 2 barrels of gasoline. The 2 barrels of gasoline were naturally purchased by Shu Hong through the system. Pour gasoline over all the corpses and start a blazing fire. Then Shu Hong took Chris back to the town. I don't care. Shu Hong has already dealt with the fire zone, and the fire here will not cause a fire. You did a good job. Follow me from now on. Tomorrow we will go outside to find more survivors. Since you are a local, you should be familiar with the surrounding area. Chris nodded. Yes, boss. That's good. In the blink of an eye, it has been 10 days since Shu Hong came to the world of the Walking Dead. During these 10 days, Shu Hong had nothing but Chris, whom he met at the beginning. Later, 12 more younger brothers were accepted. Among the 12 people, 3 of them have families. Wife and children are all together. Around the town, basic defenses have also been built. At least you don't have to worry about walking corpses touching your bedside when you sleep at night. And Shu Hong also established his prestige in front of his younger brothers. Shu Hong's personal strength is 1 point. He has great strength, no one can beat Shu Hong in arm wrestling. Even Shu Hong doesn't look very strong. But his strength is great. Shu Hong can even lift a grown man with 1 hand. Definitely, Shu Hong's strength increased so much because he drank the strength potion bought from the system. $5,000 can increase the strength of ordinary people almost 3 times. The strength of Shu Hong, who was only 3 times stronger than ordinary people, was raised to 6 times that of ordinary people. This is why he can lift a person with 1 hand. Definitely, in addition to strength potions, Shu Hong also drank speed potions, stamina potions, and spirit potions. This is a magic potion from the wizarding world. Speed potions, as the name suggests, can increase your speed after drinking. Ascension is definitely not as exaggerated as power. But it also almost doubled Shu Hong's speed. Let him reach a terrifying speed of 100 meters in 6 seconds. Endurance potion, which can increase a person's endurance. Spiritual medicine is to enhance the spirit of the person, make the brain's thoughts clearer, and the thinking ability of the whole person becomes stronger. After Shu Hong drank this stuff, he slept 4 hours a day, and he was able to be energetic all day long. And Shu Hong also showed his terrifying self-healing ability in front of everyone. Even if the chest is pierced by a bullet, it can be recovered within a few breaths. It's just a monster. This also made his gang of younger brothers feel awe of Shu Hong. He also listened to what he said. Because they know very well that in such an apocalypse, they can live longer only by following a boss who is as powerful as a monster. After the town is almost built, Shu Hong already intends to go further afield to recruit more survivors. Definitely, Shu Hong intends to go to the nearest city from here. During this month, his account balance was as high as more than $500,000 at its peak. But with Shu Hong's various purchases, there is also the strengthening of the younger brother's strength. His balance has been cleared again. But for Shu Hong, the sacrifice was worth it. His little brother and himself now each have a nano-protective suit. The defense of this nano-protective clothing is very strong. Even if it is hit from the front by an automatic rifle, it cannot break through the defense. Unless it is a heavy machine gun or a heavy sniper weapon. Otherwise, you can't break the defense at all. Wearing nano-protective clothing, except for the head, other parts of the body are protected. In other words, when they face the walking corpses, as long as they don't let their heads be bitten by the walking corpses, then they will stand in the crowd of walking corpses and be bitten by those walking corpses. Even the Walking Dead can't hurt them. In addition, Shu Hong equipped them with a large number of weapons. Standard as an automatic rifle. In addition, there are light machine guns and heavy machine guns. The kind with enough bullets. With such strength, Shu Hong and the others can walk sideways even in a city full of walking corpses. It was precisely because of this that Shu Hong decided to go to the nearest city. Raise soldiers for 1,000 days and use them for a while. It is also time to play the role of his gang of younger brothers. Leave 2 people with 2 light machine guns and 2 automatic rifles in the town. Shu Hong took the remaining 10 people and drove 3 cars towards the nearest city of Carl's. Carl's City. Rick rode into the city yesterday. He didn't encounter any walking corpses along the way. Just when he thought there were no walking corpses in the city, he ran into a group of walking corpses at a corner. The flatterer was frightened, and he also fell off the horse directly. Fortunately, there is an abandoned tank next to it. He climbed into the tank and survived. In the end, he was rescued by a Korean boy, Glenn. Now, he is staying in a building with Glenn and his gang. From Glenn, Rick learned that they were from a temporary survivor camp. The purpose of entering the city is to search for daily necessities and food. because the necessities and food in the town outside were basically looted by the survivors. If you want to search for food, you can only search in large shopping malls and supermarkets in the city. Now, they just need to wait for the group of walking corpses outside to slowly disperse, and they can leave safely. After Rick talked with Glenn and the others, going to join them temporarily. Since there are quite a few people in their survivor camp, he planned to go back with them first. Maybe someone in one of the survivor camps had seen his wife Lori. Otherwise, with such a aimless search, when would he have to find it? Have a safe night. Even if everyone is talking in the room, they try to keep their voices down as much as possible, because only in this way will they not attract the attention of a large number of walking corpses outside. They don't want to give them lunch. At this time, suddenly there was a crackling gunshot above them. Everyone's expression changed. Why is there suddenly a gunshot? What's the situation? Why are there gunshots? Who's shooting? Indrina looked at the crowd and asked. Where did the more people go? The black T-boy suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone immediately understood who was shooting. Everyone stood up quickly, then ran towards the top floor where the gunshots came from. After a while, everyone went to the top floor. Sure enough, I saw Moore holding a sniper rifle, aiming there, and then shooting. Everyone's faces were very ugly. The grumpy Andrina even rushed forward immediately. He wants to grab Moore's gun. You fool, what are you doing? You will kill us like this. Angelina wanted to grab the gun, but was knocked down by Moore's backhand. He doesn't show mercy to women. Kill you, a bunch of cowards. Why, do those things below scare you? I think they're actually quite cute. Also, shouldn't you be more polite to the person holding the dick? Aha. Moore said indifferently. We don't have many bullets, but you're wasting them, and you're going to bring those things over. What, Mexican hippie, do you have a problem with me? Moore looked at the talking T-boy with an unkind expression. He's a typical white supremacist. He doesn't look good on those whose skin is different from his. Before the apocalypse, he was a punk. After the apocalypse, he was still a punk. And the common problem of punks is that if they have such a little skill, they don't take everyone seriously. Looking at the gun in Moore's hand, after comparing the size gap between the enemy and us, T-boy was a little timid. But he knows that in this situation, if he really admits to being cowardly, then others will think he is a softie. This is not conducive to his status in the team in the future. Just when the atmosphere is tense and it is possible to do it at any time. Da 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 da. In the distance, there was a sudden burst of continuous gunfire. Everyone looked in the direction of the gunshots. It is not difficult to hear from the frequency of the sound that it is the sound of a machine gun. Machine guns, compared to automatic rifles, are all at the level of big killers. Is there still an army left? The sudden situation diverted everyone's attention. Especially when they found that the walking corpses gathered below began to turn around. When going in the direction where the machine gun sound came from, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. That was the sound of a machine gun. Why did the sound of a machine gun suddenly sound? Could it be that the army has entered the city? How is it possible? If the army really survived, the city of Carls would never be what it is now. Andrea said. Shall we go over and see? Glenn asked. What were you doing in the past? Now that the walking corpses have been attracted away, I think we should take this opportunity and get out of here as soon as possible. A white man said. Moore glanced at everyone. You guys go back first. I'm going to check the situation. If we can let those people with machine guns join us, then we will be safer. After speaking, Moore walked downstairs with a gun. Everyone was stunned. Are you sure you used to get the other person to join them, not them to join each other? Moore is the most courageous and the most powerful person in their group. This time leading the team to the city, it was the team led by Moore. To be honest, aside from Moore's bad personality, this guy is actually a very good support. Especially in these last days. Because he is courageous and powerful. Rick is also a little stunned now. Things changed so fast that he didn't know what to do for a while. But after a while, he followed Moore's pace. Because he also intends to go over to see the situation. Maybe there really is an army. The other side, Shu Hong and Chris each had a machine gun and fired wildly at the walking corpses around them. But Chris used a light machine gun. And Shu Hong used a heavy machine gun. because of the purchase of the proficient in firearms skill. Shu Hong's marksmanship is still very good. Within 100 meters, it can be said to be 100 shots. The heavy machine gun was in his hand like a lawn mower. Clean up the walking corpses coming from the front. The remaining 10 men, led by Brian, used cold weapons to clean up the scattered corpses. Brian is one of Shu Hong's new recruits. Before the virus outbreak, he used to be a sheriff of a police department. He has a beautiful wife, 2 lovely daughters and a son. This is also the reason why he chose to follow Shu Hong. Because he needs to take care of his family. 10 of Brian were wearing nano suits and armed with long axes or machetes. The corpses were cleaned up in an orderly manner. Because they wear nano protective suits, they don't need to worry about being bitten, so they are all very bold. Without looking forward and backward, let them clean up the scattered corpses extremely fast. In a short while, hundreds of walking corpses were cleaned up. Definitely, Shu Hong and Chris killed more. After all, they use guns. Wait until the walking corpses are almost cleaned up. Everyone got in the car and continued to set off. Soon, they stopped in front of a bank. They didn't understand why Shu Hong came to the bank. But for Shu Hong's order, they are now unconditionally executing. So even if they were puzzled, they would not ask Shu Hong why he came to the bank. Enter the bank with Chris and others. Shu Hong soon came to the bank's vault. Asking Chris and the others to stay outside, Shu Hong walked in alone. When entering the vault, the first thing that catches the eye are bags of dollars. Many of them have been poured out of the bag. Obviously, someone has been here after the end of the world. But these things have become waste paper in the last days, so the other party just poured out the money and played with it, then left again. Go inside again. Shu Hong quickly saw a small pile of gold piled up together. The gold is placed there in the form of gold bricks. About 20 or so. Not much, but compared to Shu Hong's previous search from family to family in the small town, there are many more. However, the city of Carl's is not just this one bank. There are dozens of banks waiting for him to raid. System, recover. Putting his hand on the gold brick, Shu Hong directly asked the system to recover. There are 24 gold bricks, each 100 ounces. After the system was recovered, Shu Hong's balance immediately increased by $4,368,000. With more than $4 million US, Shu Hong was so rich for the first time. If all the banks in Carlstown are like this bank. So today his system balance can definitely exceed 100 million. Shu Hong was very excited. So that the steps are a little lighter. When he walked out of the vault, his gang of younger brothers all had weird expressions. After all, they rarely saw Shu Hong so happy. No need to think about it, the boss must have encountered something happy. Okay, let's go to the next bank. Run 20 banks in a row. After plundering gold from 20 banks, Shu Hong's balance officially broke through 100 million. There are more than a dozen banks left. Shu Hong plans to come again next time. Because there are too many walking corpses in the city. Even if they had heavy weapons, they cleaned up thousands of walking corpses along the way. But the number of walking corpses left in the city is several times, even 10 times that amount. Shu Hong was fine, but his subordinates were all ordinary people with limited physical strength, and some of them had already begun to lose strength. So Shu Hong plans to come again next time. Not urgent. After cleaning up the gathered walking corpses again, and clearing out a way to leave, Shu Hong and his group got into the car and were about to leave Carl's city. Not far away, there was a sudden roar of a car. Then 3 cars drove towards Shu Hong and the others. Boss, someone is coming towards us, do you want to shoot? Chris shouted into the intercom. He does not have the same car as Shu Hong. No, let's go out of the city first, Shu Hong said through the intercom. Then everyone started the car. Drive out of the city. More on the other side was stunned for a moment. Originally they thought it was the army that entered the city, but now it seems that the other party seems to be a survivor like them, but with heavy weapons. What puzzled them even more was why these people kept running to various banks when they came to the city to search for supplies. Is there anything good in the bank? But now there is nothing in the bank except a pile of waste paper. As for gold, that thing is indeed good, but in this situation, food is the most important thing. Now gold can't buy food, and there's nowhere to buy food for you. They left straight away. What should we do? In the car Moore was in, Glenn was in charge of driving. Rick is also in this car. Follow up, Moore said after thinking for a while. Rick sat in the back and didn't make a sound. Because he thinks the same as Moore. After arriving outside the city, Moore and the others soon discovered that Shu Hong and his convoy stopped in front. It seems to be waiting for them. And there seemed to be more people on the other side than them. Moore and the others stopped 20 meters away from Shu Hong and the others. Then Moore got out of the car first. Rick followed. After Glenn hesitated for a while, he also got out of the car. Andrea and T-Boy in the back also got out of the car. Although Moore had just done something stupid that made them angry. But now is not the time to care about those. The primary problem now is the sudden appearance of Shu Hong and his group with heavy weapons in their hands. In this world, it is undoubtedly the best choice for survivors to gather together to keep warm. Whether they join each other or the other joins them, the necessary contact is still necessary. This can greatly enhance their chances of survival. Moore and they did not get out of the car with weapons. Shu Hong and the others had an automatic rifle at worst. As far as their small guns and short guns are concerned, even if they hold them in their hands, they can't increase their sense of security too much. Moreover, facing Shu Hong and the others with those things is obviously much more dangerous than not holding them. At least Shu Hong and the others wouldn't act aggressively towards them after seeing that they weren't holding weapons. Although Moore is arrogant and has a bad temper, he is not stupid. He still has the basic thinking of normal people. Gentlemen, we are undoubtedly offended. We just want to thank you for saving us just now. Moore raised his hands, indicating that he was not malicious, and at the same time walked towards Shu Hong and the others. But before he could fully walk in, he was stopped by two big white men holding automatic rifles. Because they followed Shu Hong, they didn't have to worry about food and clothing, they also got enough sleep, and their complexion was better, which was much better than Moore's. Let him come over. Shu Hong's voice sounded. The two big white men were not stopping Moore either. This scene surprised the people on Moore's side. Shu Hong is more than 1.8 meters tall. Because of the strength potion and endurance potion, his body has become stronger and stronger during this period of time, and he has grown 2 centimeters taller. The whole person looks more and more burly and strong. But among them, he was the only Asian. So Moore and the others never thought that the head of this group would be Shu Hong, the only Asian. In their view, Chris or Brian is more like the leader of their gang. But the current situation clearly represents that they are wrong. And it was ridiculously wrong. Moore was also a little taken aback. After the two big white men stopped him, he didn't even come back to his senses for the first time and make a move. But he stood there without moving, but Shu Hong took the initiative to walk towards him. To be honest, Shu Hong was quite surprised to see Rick and his group of protagonists here. But it was just an accident. What's your name? Moore, sir. Moore has a bad personality and looks quite strong, but in the final analysis, he is just a punk. And the punks have a common problem, that is, they are afraid of the strong. Standing in front of Shu Hong at 1.75 meters tall, he was almost 10 centimeters shorter. In terms of momentum, he lost to Shu Hong. In terms of identity, Shu Hong is the boss of Brian and his group of white people. And he, Moore, is not yet the boss of their side, at most he is one of the leaders. In terms of prestige, just a little bit. When Shu Hong walked in front of him, he immediately felt the pressure of the pavement. Although Shu Hong hasn't killed anyone yet, he has solved quite a few walking corpses. This also gave him an aura. The closer you are, the clearer the feeling. Moore, you are following us, do you want to join us? Hearing Shu Hong's words, Morden was overjoyed. The slight tension on his face was gone. Didn't he just want to join Shu Hong and the others? Just their current temporary survivor camp, a bunch of loose sand, few guns, and a lot of uncles. Every time I go to the city to search for supplies, I have to rely on a few of them. Others just sit back and enjoy it, each time they wait for them to bring food and living supplies out of the city for them to use. The most important thing is that Moore feels that with those people, the safety of him and his brother Daryl is not guaranteed at all, and something will happen sooner or later. So after hearing the sound of Shu Hong's machine guns, he chased after him immediately. The purpose is to join Shu Hong and the others. With machine guns, you can also use machine guns to shoot the walking corpses in the city. This meant that Shu Hong and the others definitely had no shortage of bullets. This is a symbol of strength. And in such an apocalypse, following Shu Hong and the others will undoubtedly live longer. Definitely, sir, I actually think so, I just don't know. Moore's tone was a little nervous. He was afraid that Shu Hong would reject them. No, it should be him to join. Because he's had enough of living in a survivor camp over there. The kind of days where you can't see the future and live in fear every day. I welcome you to join us. In fact, I welcome anyone to join us. Shu Hong opened his hands and said loudly. Obviously, he said this not only to Moore, but also to Rick and the others behind him. Shu Hong needs manpower, he needs a lot of manpower. But so far, he hasn't found too many survivors. Shu Hong wanted to go to the radio station in the city and set up the radio again, so as to attract the living survivors and let them gather towards him by themselves. But he doesn't have any professionals in this area. He can't do this kind of thing by himself. Items he can buy from the system and give to others. But for things like skills, he can only use them after purchasing them. Therefore, this plan was temporarily shelved. As for the survivors, Shu Hong is welcome in every way. As for these survivors who came over and made trouble under his hands, he was not worried at all. Because he controls absolute power. Also controls the weapons, and the most precious, food resource of the end. As long as he controls these things, no one can resist him. After those survivors came to his territory, they could only become his little brothers and work for him. Otherwise, they will not survive. Therefore, Shu Hong wasn't worried that there would be too many survivors in their territory and there would be chaos or something. Now he is worried that there are too few people under his command. Not enough. Otherwise, he could have formed a private army and directly recovered the city of Carls. Isn't a city as a base better than a small town? At that time, the city of Carls will radiate the entire United States, and even the whole world. All the wealth of this world will belong to him. And as long as he has money, he can keep getting stronger. He is very greedy for those powerful bloodlines in the system, but unfortunately he has no money to buy them. Because of the powerful bloodline, the price of each one is an astronomical sum. Even if he collected all the wealth in the Walking Dead world, he might not be able to afford one of them. Even a movie version, Man of Steel, of Superman's blood can cost as much as $10 trillion. Is it expensive? Expensive. Is it a good deal? It also pays off, because even in the movie version of Superman, his power is beyond doubt. More than 20 kilometers away from the city of Carls, there is a group of hills. The environment here is average, but there are few people here. Before the disaster, few people came here. But after the disaster, this place where almost no one came to before has become a place of fragrant steamed buns. Because no one came, it meant that the walking corpses would not come here either. So it's safe enough here. It is precisely because of this that nearly 100 survivors gathered here to form a temporary survivor camp. There is a small lake not far from the camp. If there is no water, you can go to the small lake to get water. It can be said that in the last days where walking corpses are everywhere, this is an excellent temporary camp. Sean stepped out of a makeshift tent. Organized my clothes. Not far away, Jonathan saw Sean coming out of the tent. He patted Carl, who was playing with his daughter Bellis. Carl, your mother is fine, you can go back to your mother. Jonathan smiled gently. After speaking, he looked at Sean who was looking over. Their gazes intertwined in midair, and Sean nodded to Jonathan. Carl was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then he ran over immediately when he saw Sean approaching. Sean, uncle, is my mom okay? Carl asked, looking up at Sean. Yesterday, Sean dismissed Carl by saying that Carl's mom, Lori, was not feeling well and that he needed to check on her. It turned out that this inspection lasted all night. Look at the innocent Carl. A smile spread across Sean's face. He smiled and patted Carl's head. Yes, Carl, your mother is fine. Go ahead and be with her. I have something to do now and I can't play with you. I'll bring you something delicious later. Okay, Sean, uncle. Carl smiled happily when he heard that. Because of the end times, being hungry has become the norm. Snacks are even more extravagant. For Carl, it has become something to look forward to every time Sean comes back to bring him delicious snacks. Sean smiled as Carl walked into the tent. Everything in front of him satisfied him. Although compared to his good brother Rick is probably dead long ago. It's not that he didn't save Rick, but the situation at the time didn't allow it. The conditions did not allow him to take Rick, an unconscious person, to escape. What's more, Rick's condition was very bad at that time, and leaving the hospital would make him die faster. Although Rick may have died long ago. But I am not sorry for Rick. At least he made sure his wife Lori and son Carl were alive. Although he has Lori, he also regards Carl as his son. It's not because Carl is Rick's son that he doesn't like him. So I am worthy of Rick. I believe that if he watched all this in heaven, he would not blame him, but would be grateful to him. Thinking of this, he couldn't help showing a smile on his face. But soon, he stopped smiling. Because he saw in the camp, Daryl was arguing with someone. As a former sheriff, he is now the leader of this makeshift camp. Compared with Moore, he has a greater right to speak. After all, he was a sheriff before the disaster. His identity is undoubtedly more convincing and trustworthy than Moore's previous identity as a gangster. Daryl, Kazile, what are you arguing about? Sean walked up to the two of them, pushing them aside. It's not a quarrel. Kazir shook his head and explained. It's just that Daryl was going to Carlstown on his Harley, but I stopped him. Daryl didn't speak, but his face was slightly gloomy. Sean heard the words, looked around, and immediately understood the reason. Moore and the others haven't come back yet. Sean's face was also a little ugly. Although there were quite a few people in the camp, there were not many people who had the courage and the ability to enter the city to search for supplies. They've already lost men in Carlstown. Now they can't afford any loss of manpower. This is not good news. Yes, Moore and the others didn't come back all night, and they couldn't be reached by radio, Kazir said. Sean immediately understood why Daryl was going to Carlstown. Obviously, he was going into town to find Moore. But driving a Harley into town isn't a good option. There are too many walking corpses in the city, although Harley's movement is not too loud, but there are still some voices. It would be dangerous for Daryl to enter the city alone. That's why Kazir stopped Daryl. Daryl also understands that Kazil stopped him for his safety. But the problem is that Moore has no news now. He is just such a relative, such a big brother, and he will not allow Moore to have an accident while he is still there. Even though Moore has a bad personality, most people in the camp don't like him. But the relationship between the two brothers has always been good. As long as Daryl is around, it's hard for Moore to mess around. Because the two brothers care about each other very much and are willing to listen to each other. If there is still no news from their radio before noon, I will accompany you to the city. Maybe Moore and the others are just delayed by something, and they will come back soon. The weapons in their hands are not bad, and the possibility of accidents is not high. Sean looked at Daryl and comforted him. As for why it is noon. Naturally, it was to prevent Moore and the others from coming back in the morning, and then their trip was in vain. After all, although they have no shortage of cars to drive now, they don't have much gasoline. The gasoline in most gas stations has been used by the survivors in the past few months after the disaster. Looking for gasoline now is not as easy as it was when the disaster first started. Gasoline needs to be saved. And it is dangerous for them to go to the city. If it is not necessary, naturally try not to go. Daryl was in a hurry though. But Sean was right. Maybe Moore and the others just delayed for a while. After all, there are quite a few Moore and the others, and they also have weapons in their hands. Even if the supplies are not available, and Ren should not come back. They stayed in the city all night, maybe something happened and it was delayed. And that guy Moore is not a skinny guy, so the possibility of accidents is not high. That's all Daryl could do to comfort himself. Well, if Moore doesn't come back at noon, I must go to the city. Daryl agreed to Sean's proposal, and then said seriously. Sean nodded, satisfied with Daryl selling his face like this. As for Daryl's words, he didn't care. Replace him with Daryl. If any accident might happen to his big brother, he will definitely go to save him. He will see the dead if he is alive. The words of a few people just fell. Not far away, there was a sudden sound of a car running. And listening to the movement, there are still many cars coming. The expressions of the three of them changed. Daryl rushed out first, running in the direction of the movement. Sean and Cazell exchanged glances. The two first went to get an automatic rifle one by one, and then chased after Daryl. Other survivors in the camp also heard the movement and walked out of the tent to check the movement. Definitely, there are also many people who continued to stay in the tents, either too lazy to move or just resting. Because of The Walking Dead, most people don't actually sleep at night, and many times they choose to sleep during the day. After all, it is better to check the surrounding situation during the day, and there is still time to react to any changes. So most survivors choose to sleep during the day. At least a few people will have a short nap at night and then a short nap during the day. Before Daryl rushed out of the camp, a car drove into the camp. Daryl recognized the first three cars at a glance. Because this is the car Moore drove when they left before. This means that Moore and the others are back. But to Daryl's surprise, besides Moore's three cars, there were 4 pickup trucks behind them. At the front is a black pickup. Daryl was puzzled. Sean, Kazir, and other survivors who followed were also very puzzled. What's the situation? Moore and the others went out for a trip, why did they have 4 more cars? Snapped. The front door opened, and Moore got out of the car first. Seeing that Moore was fine, Daryl breathed a sigh of relief. And Moore also saw his brother, who was obviously relieved. The two brothers looked at each other, smiled at each other, and said nothing. Later, Moore noticed Sean, who looked a little weird. As for why Sean's expression became weird, it was naturally because he saw Rick getting off Moore's passenger seat. He even thought for a while that he was wrong. But Rick was wearing a sheriff uniform, and he was too familiar with the image of Rick. After all, he and Rick had worked together for years. Most of the time when the two were together, they were on duty in police uniforms. So Sean quickly confirmed that it was Rick. It is a good thing that the good brother is not dead. But now I and Rick's wife Lori almost think of it as a reorganization and love to listen. As a result, when Rick came back at this time, he really didn't know whether he should be happy or unhappy. That's why he had a weird expression on his face. And Rick was also stunned. Because he also noticed his good brother Sean. Although Sean is not wearing a police uniform now, it looks a little different from his previous image. But he still recognized Sean immediately. Rick's emotions suddenly became a little excited. He charged directly at Sean. The ghost knows how he survived the days when the world changed drastically after he woke up, and there was no one acquaintance around him anymore. If he hadn't been back home, judging from the situation at home that his wife and son might not have died, Rick would have found a place to commit suicide long ago. He didn't expect to see Sean here. Sean, Rick, the two good brothers hugged each other. At this moment, Sean is happy. He has a great relationship with Rick. In fact, he had liked Rick's wife Lori very early on, and it could even be said that Lori was his first love. That's why he obviously had the ability to find a younger, prettier woman who didn't have any oil bottles, but he still chose a woman who was already a mother of a 6 or 7-year-old child. For men, first love is different from other women. Even if you will meet a more beautiful woman than her in the future. But first love is a woman you will never forget in your life. Even after decades, you may be too old to remember her appearance, but you must still remember her name. First love is the most unforgettable. He likes Rick's wife Lori, but this does not affect the brotherhood between the two. At least before Rick had an accident, even though he liked Lori in his heart, he didn't have any undue thoughts. Friend's wife, don't be bullied, he has always done this very well. He's with Lori now only because Sean thinks Rick is dead. In his opinion, even if Rick learned the news that he and Lori were together in heaven, he would bless the two of them. It's just that he didn't expect Rick to die. For him, it is good news that his good brother is not dead. At least at this moment, he is happy because Rick is not dead from the bottom of his heart. But with that comes worry. After all, he and Luoli had reached that point, and there was no turning back. He has no guilt towards Rick, because he thought Rick was dead before. Moreover, Rick's situation at the time, in his view, was absolutely impossible to be alive. But if Rick learns about his relationship with his wife Lori, can their brotherhood still be the same as it used to be? Sean knows exactly what Rick is like. He loves his wife Lori and son Carl very much. For Lori, Rick is a very qualified husband. Rick is also a very qualified father to his son Carl. If Lori found out that Rick was still alive, he can be sure that Luoli will definitely choose Rick. This made him a little embarrassed. "Brother, I can't believe that you are still alive," Sean said with emotion and happiness when the two separated. "Yes, I'm glad you're still alive." Rick also smiled. After seeing the dangers of Carl's city, Rick already understood why they didn't take Sean with him. Facing the walking corpse, it was too difficult to bring him an unconscious person. He can understand Sean. By the way, Sean, Lori and Carl. After feeling emotional, Rick immediately asked what he cared about most. "They're fine, Rick." Sean wasn't surprised by Rick's words. Because Rick, who cared about his wife and children, was the good brother Rick he remembered. Rick was surprised when he heard this. "You mean?" "Yes, they're in this camp too." Sean smiled. The two were about to say something. Beep beep. A piercing tinnitus sounded. I saw Shu Hong walking out of the crowd with a large horn. The sound just now was the sound made when the loudspeaker in his hand was turned on. Everyone in the camp looked at Shu Hong and his group of strangers suspiciously. Except Shu Hong. Everyone else has a tactical suit. Actually, this is just a simulated function of the nanosuit. Everyone has grenades hanging from their waists, and a cold weapon, either a hatchet or a machete, and bullet chains on their shoulders. In addition, each has an automatic rifle, and Brian and Chris each hold a light machine gun. It looks like the special elite squad of the US Army. Compare with their equipment. Their side is like a joke. Because there are only 2 automatic rifles in their hands. There are 2 sniper rifles, but they are both light sniper rifles with average range and average power. The others are short sprays and pistols. Moreover, they are running out of ammunition. Once the bullets are used up, these weapons are no different from fire sticks in their hands. Everyone who came out of the camp looked at Shu Hong suspiciously. His eyes were full of curiosity. They were curious about what Shu Hong was going to do next. "Everyone, this is our first meeting. Let me introduce myself. My name is Shu Hong. You can call me Shu. Definitely, call me God too." When Shu Hong said that he could be called God, everyone had an idea in their hearts. This guy, he must be a lunatic. But the idea didn't last long. Because what happened next shocked everyone, including the gang of younger brothers that Shu Hong had just taken away. "Because I am omnipotent." Shu Hong waved his hand. In the next second, a huge amounts of container appeared out of thin air. Then it fell to the ground. Boom! The container landed with huge amounts of sound. The ground trembled violently. Shu Hong didn't slowly conquer everyone's ideas. Since as long as he has money, he can buy anything from the system, so why doesn't he be more simple and rude, and directly use miracles to elevate his status? There is no loyalty that is purer and more loyal than faith. This set is useful in any era. Definitely, the premise is that you can show a miracle, you can put a layer of light that belongs to God on yourself, and let everyone know that you are God. Then they fear you, believe in you, and are crazy about you. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Shu Hong walked to the container. Opened the container. A container full of food was revealed. There was bread, milk, and various canned meats, vegetables, and fruit. Definitely, there is no lack of fresh fruit and some snacks. There are many things. A whole large container of food, even if there are 1,000 people here, is enough for them to eat for several days. This is a meeting gift from me and you. Presumably many of you have not eaten for a long time. And today, you will be able to fill your stomachs to your heart's content. After Shu Hong's words fell, everyone couldn't help cheering. Because as Shu Hong said, many of them have not had enough food for a long time. They do find food, but every time you find food, the amount you can share is not much. At most, I eat half full, or even not half full, and can only barely maintain my physical strength. Because everyone knows it. Food is something that will become more and more lacking in the future, and even in the future, they may face a situation where they can't find any food. Just thinking about it, you know what a terrible disaster that is. Even Shu Hong's subordinates, Chris and Brian, after following Shu Hong, although Shu Hong did not short their food. But they were never overfed either. But occasionally you can get full. You want to eat, but there is not so much food for you. The food Shu Hong gave everyone was rationed. Some with bigger appetites never got full at one time. So, at the moment they are also among the cheering people. Definitely, apart from being happy, everyone looked at Shu Hong with enthusiasm and fanaticism. Because the food in this container was conjured by Shu Hong out of thin air. Although some people may wonder why God is an Asian. But who cares about that? They only care about Shu Hong becoming food, they only care about Shu Hong bringing them hope. In such a world, all people have no hope for their future. But the appearance of Shu Hong brought them hope. Shu Hong is not Asian, they don't care at all. They don't care if God is really Asian. All they care about is that God really exists. Especially Chris and them. They were originally Shu Hong's subordinates, and they were already loyal to Shu Hong before. Now, after seeing Shu Hong's miracle, even if Shu Hong asked them to die, they would go. At the same time, Shu Hong's performance just now also told them in a disguised form where their previous food and weapons came from. Obviously, those things were created by Shu Hong. Otherwise, why would Shu Hong conjure up a lot of weapons, ammunition and food without going anywhere? Due to Shu Hong's prestige before, none of them dared to ask Shu Hong even if they had doubts. But now, Shu Hong has given them the answer. That is, everything is created by Shu Hong. Many survivors who were still in the tent and didn't know the situation walked out of the tent with puzzled faces. This also includes Lori and Carl, mother and son. Lori was stunned when she saw Rick. Carl was surprised. No matter how good Sean is, he's just uncle, and Rick is his dad. So when seeing Rick, Carl ran over excitedly and hugged Rick. Luo Li looked a little unnatural. But she still walked towards Rick quickly. The family was united, and after a short period of warmth, Luo Li knew what had just happened. Sean was also stunned at the moment. Because things had changed so quickly, his brain was still a little confused. So much so that I didn't have time to pay attention to Luo Li's affairs. Afterwards, Shu Hong began to ask his subordinates to distribute food to everyone. Because Shu Hong was standing next to him, no one dared to mess around. Line up one by one to get food. Then there was a big stomp and swallow, and there was nothing to say. But this is also normal, the food produced by the system is of superior taste. In addition, everyone has not let go of their stomachs and had a good meal for a long time. Many people have not even eaten meat for a long time. Now that you can eat freely, you will naturally not restrain yourself. Shu Hong didn't ask his subordinates to distribute drinks to them. Because it's not safe here. After everyone finished eating, they were going to leave here and transfer back to his small town. That's where it's truly safe. 3 hours later. Everyone packed their things and got in the car. Because there is enough fuel provided by Shu Hong. Some cars that had no fuel and could only be abandoned were also driven. But it doesn't matter if you don't have enough cars. There are many cars outside. You only need to go out with fuel, and you can drive back a lot of cars. After all, the most indispensable thing now is a car that can be driven. What is lacking the most is fuel. This camp is not close to the small town of Croatia. The journey of more than 50 kilometers took nearly 2 hours to drive. Because there are many roadblocks on the road, they need to get out of the car to clear them. And there are many walking corpses blocking the road. But there are heavy machine guns to open the way, enough firepower, so that they can deal with any situation. With the existence of Shu Hong, the God, if the bullet is gone, it will just change. As for why Shu Hong didn't take them back to the town directly. In Shu Hong's words, because of the battle with the Hell Devil, he was seriously injured, so that the world became what it is now. And the reason why the world has become like this is because the devil in hell has spread the virus among humans. But Shu Hong is not useless, at least the demons were seriously injured by him, unable to come to the human world, and as long as he recovers, the human world can also return to its previous state. But the world will not be short. And if he wants to recover fast enough, he needs a lot of gold to absorb. These are the reasons Shu Hong made up. It sounds nonsense, it is outrageous, and there are many loopholes. But no one doubted Shu Hong's words. Chapter 11. In a blink of an eye, more than half a month has passed. With enough manpower under his command, Shu Hong has already cleaned up all the walking corpses in the city of Karls. Although there are hundreds of thousands of walking corpses in Karls City. But these walking corpses pose no threat at all. As long as he wears the nano-protective clothing, even an ordinary person can easily deal with hundreds of walking corpses. Hundreds of them are wearing nano-protective suits and holding cold weapons, and they can easily kill tens of thousands of walking corpses in one morning. You don't even need to look for those things. Just make a little movement, and the walking corpses will come to you by themselves. If the number attracts too much at one time, you can use the heavy machine guns set up in advance to clear the field. Wait until the number is right and then use cold weapons to solve it. When I'm tired, I have the stamina recovery potion provided by Shu Hong. After drinking a bottle, my fatigue will be wiped away, and I will be full of strength. In just 3 days, the walking corpses in Carl's City were cleaned up. In fact, it only took 2 days to clean up the walking dead. The third day was to clean up the corpses left by the walking dead. Getting these things collectively cleaned up is the real trouble. After all, there were not many people under Shu Hong at the time. And after cleaning up the city of Carl's, it was reorganized. Lay down defensive measures around the city of Carl's. This place became Shu Hong's domain. Shu Hong also changed the name of the city of Carl's to the City of God. God, of course, is himself. So it was renamed City of God. Shu Hong is never stingy with those under his command. As long as they participated in the cleanup work, they would either be given a nano-protective suit or a bottle of magic potion. And Nuogan's God Points. God Points is a currency system initially established by Shu Hong. Shu Hong bought an elementary-level artificial intelligence and data processor from the system. The artificial intelligence is named Angel 1. Survivors who join the City of God will register with Angel 1 and obtain the qualification to live in the City of God. It can also be understood as registering a household and obtaining a resident certificate. In the City of God, Shu Hong opened 10 God Malls. It is said to be a shopping mall, but it is actually no different from a canteen. Because the mall is very small, and there are very few products on display, except for nano-protective clothing and some food and daily necessities. Those items that can make people extraordinary are not placed in shopping malls. Instead, it gives you a product list. If you want to buy something, you have to place an order first, pay for it, and then wait for the clerk to notify you that you are coming to pick up what you bought. But so far, not many people can afford extraordinary items. After all, a bottle of strength potion costs thousands of God points. A nano-protective suit costs hundreds of points. In the City of God, there are not many channels to obtain God points. 1. Work for Shu Hong. After all, even God is not obliged to support you for nothing, so if you want to get God points, you have to work for Shu Hong, the God. 2. When you go out to find things like gold, jade, agate, pearls, etc., you can exchange them in the God Mall to get God points, and this is unlimited, which means that no matter how much gold you get, you can exchange it here into God points. The redemption of God points is uniformly carried out by the artificial intelligence Angel number 1, because it can achieve real fairness and justice. Here at Shu Hong, 1 ounce of gold can be exchanged for 3 points. And the commodities in God's Mall, except for some special items, ordinary food and so on, are actually very cheap. For example, for a 500 grams can of meat, you can buy 10 pieces for 1 point. 60 caddies of flour, 1 point can buy a bag. An automatic rifle can be bought with only 20 points. Anyway, as long as you have enough points, you can buy anything you want from Shu Hong. This includes virus serum. With this thing, even if you are accidentally bitten by a walking corpse, as long as you inject the virus serum, you will be fine. And the price of a virus serum is only 30 points. This is nothing to those pioneers who went out. In just half a month, the City of God already had a picture of prosperity. Many people formed a wasteland reclamation team together and went out to reclaim wasteland. In fact, they went to the nearby city banks to search for gold. This earns them a lot of God points. After all, they belong to the first batch of people who ate crabs. With the first batch of people, there will naturally be the second batch of people. Shu Hong quickly sold a lot of magical potions such as strength potions and stamina potions. Among them, stamina recovery potions, nano-protective clothing, and virus serum are the most sold. These things are the most practical, and naturally the best-selling ones. While Shu Hong was sitting at home, the balance on the system account gradually increased. For him, looking for gold by himself is not necessarily as good as someone constantly delivering money to your door. Because what he is doing now is a monopoly business. Still, one person monopolizes all businesses in the world. As for whether doing so will have any impact on the future of this world, Xu Hong didn't care. After all, he is now in the early stage of development, when he needs funds the most. If he wants to develop rapidly in a short period of time, he can't have so many worries. Anyway, with the ability of plane teleportation, he wasn't worried that he would ruin the world. Phil money will strengthen the system. Host, Xu Hong. Age, 22. Race, human race. Shou yuan, 350. Money, $15.6 billion. PS. This book sets an ounce of gold at $1,820, and the amount after 100 million will not be recorded. Item, none. Ability, plane teleportation. Cooling time of half a month, can be upgraded with money, reducing cooling time. Super self-healing regeneration, cold weapon proficiency, hot weapon proficiency. Coming to the world of The Walking Dead, Xu Hong's system balance has changed from 0 at the beginning to the current $15.6 billion. The amount of growth is not exaggerated. However, there is still a big gap between this and the Superman Serum Hunter Electric version that Xu Hong wants to buy. But the money was enough for Xu Hong to spend a wave and strengthen himself again. Although the ability of super self-healing regeneration is very good for life preservation, but it doesn't have the ability to destroy Xu Hong. So Xu Hong had a goal early on. System, buy the product Perfect version Green Titan Serum Shadow version. Buy items, Spider Telepathy. Purchased successfully. Perfect version of Green Titan Serum $15.2 billion. Spider Telepathy $150 million. After the two items were purchased, the number of balance dropped sharply, and was quickly locked at $250 million. There is only so much left after the system balances. It would be a lie to say that I don't feel distressed. After all, so much money. But it was just a little distressed, because Xu Hong knew very well that the things he bought were worth the money. The perfect version of the Green Titan Serum, after use, can immediately become another Green Titan. But compared with Bruce Banner, Hulk, the second personality, will not be born, and he can completely transform according to his own ideas. It also has the ability that the more angry, the greater the power. As for where the specific upper limit is, it depends on the individual. Compared with the Green Titan in the comics, it is definitely incomparable, but the Green Titan in the movie version is not weak. Imagine a Green Titan who is calm, rational, and has stronger power defenses. It is estimated that even Thanos will have a headache if he sees it. In addition to the perfect version of the Green Titan Serum, Xu Hong also purchased a Spider Telepathy. Even though he has the same super recovery self-healing ability as Wolverine Logan, it doesn't mean that Xu Hong cannot be killed. So Xu Hong bought another Spider Telepathy, which allows him to detect the crisis in advance and then transform. After all, he will not have a second personality, nor will he have a passive transformation mechanism. Transformation requires him to mobilize his emotions. After purchasing the products, Xu Hong felt his brain cool down, an indescribable comfort. The whole world seemed clearer in his eyes. At the same time, he obviously felt that the surrounding environment gave him an unusual feeling. This made him slightly uncomfortable. But Xu Hong quickly adapted to this new state. Then his eyes fell on the extra syringe in his hand. There is purple liquid in the syringe. There are no words to indicate what this thing is. But Xu Hong knew that this was the perfect version of the Green Titan Serum he bought from the system. Wei Wei was a little surprised that the Green Titan Serum was not green. Afterwards, Xu Hong took off his shirt. Insert the syringe towards the heart. After purchasing the serum, the system also introduced the injection method into his brain. Let Xu Hong know how to use the Green Titan Serum. When the syringe was inserted into the heart, there was a piercing pain at first. The severe pain made Xu Hong's face turn pale, and the cold sweat immediately stayed down. It made Xu Hong regret buying this for a while. Although he has the same super self-healing recovery ability as Wolverine, he doesn't self-mutilate himself in various ways like Wolverine. In terms of pain, Xu Hong's tolerance is very limited. Enduring the severe pain, Xu Hong pushed the serum into the heart, and then pulled out the syringe, and he was relieved. Then came the makeover. The continuous excruciating pain as imagined did not. In contrast, the transformation of the serum is very gentle and comfortable. This made Shu Hong's pale face quickly return to blood. The whole person looks very good. He couldn't help feeling that it was a perfect version of the serum, even if it was transformed, it was so perfect. The transformation lasted several minutes. 3 minutes later, the makeover is almost complete. Shu Hong looked at himself in the mirror. Compared with before, he is whiter, more handsome, and taller. Shu Hong before was only a little over 1.8 meters tall, but now he is almost 1.89 meters tall, and will soon exceed 1.9 meters. The trousers on her body became a little tighter. Taking off his clothes and looking at his little brother, Shu Hong was immediately more satisfied with the serum. Then, it's the test that turns. Bring in a little angry interest. Not too angry. In the next second, Shu Hong felt the muscles of the whole body begin to agitate. The body begins to swell rapidly. After a while, Shu Hong changed from 1.89 meters to 3.2 meters. Compared to the Green Titan Hulk transformed by Bruce Banner, Shu Hong is taller and stronger. Most importantly, his color didn't change, he didn't turn into a Green Titan. His color has not changed, what color he was before the transformation, and what he was after the transformation. It's just that the pants are directly stretched. The little brother is leaking. Shu Hong had to buy a pair of stretchable nano underpants from the system and put them on, and he felt much better. After posing in the mirror, Shu Hong is very satisfied with his current muscles. It's just a copy of Yuhiro, definitely, he looks less crazy and more handsome than Yuhiro. And in terms of muscles, he is even more exaggerated than Yuhiro. Although Yuhiro can also be said to be a Superman type, it is incomparable with his Superman type. Undo the transformation. Maybe it's because of the serum. Even in the untransformed state, he is still muscular. But compared to the transformed state, the muscles are much worse. But it's about the same as Hunter. At least the muscles are big enough and bulky compared to normal people, and they look very good. In the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. Shu Hong's system balance surged again, much higher than before buying the Green Titan serum. Reached a full $22.5 billion. This time, Shu Hong wasn't buying anything to strengthen himself. Instead, keep the money. For him at present, buying commodities of the same price is very limited to his strength growth, and the growth of large ones requires more money, which he cannot afford. So he decided to save the money first. The current him, even in the Marvel world, can be regarded as the existence of the first echelon of combat power. A Green Titan serum is enough to put him on the first tier, which is absolutely fine. So he can now return to the Marvel universe. In the world of The Walking Dead, not much gold can be recovered in a short period of time. Unless he does it himself, the whole world will recycle it. But Shu Hong didn't intend to do that. After all, as long as he takes his time, the gold of this world will eventually fall into his hands sooner or later. It's just fast and slow. Compared with this, he can do other things and start a new business to make money. Moreover, the money is in the system account, and he can buy whatever he needs to buy and use at any time. After all, there is no occasion limit for the purchase of products in the system. After leaving enough goods, Shu Hong used the ability to teleport through the plane, and left the world of Walking Dead. 2008, end of June. United States, New York. It's still the same street as when I left. The difference is that it was daytime before, but now when I came back, it happened to be night. Shu Hong didn't hang out on the street. Instead, they found a hotel nearby to stay. Shu Hong doesn't have an ID card, so it stands to reason that he can't stay in a hotel. But he has money, and in the United States, there is no better super ability than being rich. On TV, Shu Hong also knew that more than a month had passed since the timeline when he left. Just in time for more than a month of his stay in the world of The Walking Dead. Obviously, the flow of time in the two worlds is the same. Just because I am in another world, the Marvel world here will not be paused. For Shu Hong, there are good and bad things about this matter. Next, Shu Hong intends to first obtain a legal identity for himself in the United States. After all, his next plan was to start a company in the United States. He has enough strength now, even if he comes up with some epic-making technologies, no one can forcibly take away his achievements. The next day, Xu Hong called a man named Charles Peter Zhou. Charles Peter Zhou, he was a team leader in the intelligence section of the CIA. As the leader of the intelligence section, his rights are not small. On weekdays, there are also a lot of people asking him to do things, so he has long been used to receiving calls from strangers. "Hi, I'm Charles Peter." "Hello, Mr. Charles, I have a business to do with you." "What business?" "I want a clean, working ID. $2 million. I will call your account. As for the identity photo, name and some information, I have already sent it to your mailbox." Charles's pupils locked slightly. From the other party's words, it is not difficult to hear that his information has been completely leaked, which makes him very upset, but also very afraid. "Okay." After a moment, Charles responded, and then the phone was hung up on the other end. At the same time, a text message came to his mobile phone, reminding him that his bank card had an extra $2 million. Opening the mailbox, there was already an additional email in the mailbox. He clicked on the email, and there was a photo and some brief information in it. Charles frowned, then shook his head. It doesn't matter what he represents behind the phone call, it's just a business, he does it, gets the money, that's all, he doesn't want to mess with too many things. With a legal identity, Xu Hong immediately started to create his own company. He didn't reach out to Tony Stark. After all, he has a system. For Xu Hong, there is nothing he cannot buy with money. Even Tony Stark's arc reactor technology can be purchased for money if he wants to. And the price is not particularly expensive, it can be won for $10 billion. Even if he doesn't buy it in the system, he can still go to Ivan Vanke to get it. But he has no idea about arc reactor technology. Compared to arc reactor technology, Xu Hong would rather start a pharmaceutical company to sell various medicines. Because everyone is inseparable from the demand for drugs. Even if it's just an ordinary cold medicine, as long as it can be made, the profit in it is terrible. But Xu Hong does not intend to make cold medicine. What he was going to make were diet pills, anti-fatigue pills, and aphrodisiacs. Definitely, it would be more appropriate to describe them as aphrodisiacs. Weight loss pills for obese people. In the entire world, when it comes to the number of obese people, the number of obese people in the United States is definitely the largest in the world. In other countries, there is also no shortage of obese people. Therefore, the market for weight loss drugs is huge. Anti-fatigue drugs are aimed at working people. Needless to say, the last aphrodisiac. Men all over the world will not refuse this drug. Definitely, provided your drug is good enough and has no side effects. When evaluating whether a drug is good or not, its efficacy is secondary, and the most important thing is that it has no side effects. And this is really nothing to the system. Soon, a pharmaceutical company named Miracle Pharmaceuticals quickly became famous in the United States. Because this company has a total of 3 particularly powerful drugs. The first one, the Miracle Fast Weight Loss Pill, is a medicine that allows you to lose weight quickly. It can produce results in 1 day, and you can lose 100 kgs in 10 days without any pressure. And the most powerful part of this diet pill is that it has no side effects. While helping you lose weight, it will also promote the shrinkage of your body skin, so that you will not lose weight too fast, and the skin will hang on your body like a piece of paper before it shrinks, making you look ugly. When losing weight, you don't need to deliberately control your eating. What you eat on weekdays can still be eaten when losing weight. Once launched, it became popular in the market, and was called the god of weight loss drugs by people in the weight loss field. The second item, Miracle Mental Restoration Medicine, can make people recover quickly and have more energy. If you are tired 24 hours a night, it doesn't matter. Take 1 pill, and you will be in the spirit for 24 hours immediately, and you can sleep even if you want to sleep. No. It is deeply loved by white-collar workers and some internet-addicted teenagers. The third one, Miracle 6 Hours, is an aphrodisiac drug. 1 pill is enough to make your little brother excited for 6 hours, so it is named Miracle 6 Hours. This medicine is effective immediately after taking it, because the medicine is so effective. There is also a disclaimer written on the medicine, which means that if you use up to 2 medicines in a row, Miracle Medicine will not be responsible if you take too much and cause an accident. And Miracle 6 Hours is also the most expensive among the 3 drugs. These 3 drugs are not produced by Xu Hong himself. What he produces is only the packaging of medicines, and the medicines are purchased directly from the system. After all, this is not only convenient, but also saves the trouble of being watched. In the system, Xu Hong bought a bottle of Miracle for 6 hours for only $12. As for the Miracle 6 Hours bought from the system, the packaging and quantity should be 10 bottles of Miracle 6 Hours, and the price of one bottle is $52. Too expensive. Do not buy too expensive. But this thing, any man who has used it, can't help but use it again. As for its price, there will never be less scolding, but buyers will never stop. Because it works really well. The same is true for other drugs. The revenue of the 3 drugs in the first month alone is as high as $24 billion. Although the profits of weight loss drugs will slow down in the later period. But the sales of Miracle Mental Restoration Medicine and Miracle 6 Hours will definitely remain strong and even more exaggerated in the future. Legal tax avoidance, after deducting various costs and salaries to company employees. The money Xu Hong got was another $22.1 billion. Raising so much money in 1 month is enough to be called crazy. The current Xu Hong, in the United States, is a rich man even more famous than Tony Stark. Time magazine was full of his photos, too. All kinds of newspapers are almost full of him. Especially after Miracle Medicine's first month's financial report appeared, it caused a great sensation in the United States. More than $20 billion, that's more than $20 billion, and this is only the first month's revenue. As Xu Hong's medicines are distributed to other countries, this revenue will definitely double. The eyes of those who are engaged in medicine are even more envious. This is what they do, and no one knows better than them how profitable this business is. With a revenue of $24 billion, at least half of the profits belong to Xu Hong. It is no exaggeration to say that Xu Hong only needs to be given a few years, and Xu Hong, the richest man in the world, will do his part. New York, Stark Building. Newly promoted Iron Man Tony Stark returned to his home after completing today's heroic action. When he turned on the TV, he also saw Xu Hong on the news. For this, Tony Stark is actually a little unhappy. After all, the news in the past was basically about him, but recently, this guy has stolen his limelight. All kinds of front-page news have also become this guy. But he also admires Xu Hong. Because the other party's medicine seemed to him to be a genius-like invention. Except diet pills. He is using the other 2. It works great and has no side effects. This made him admire Xu Hong for a while. He's an expert in electrical engineering, and it's not hard for him to get him to do it. But if he is asked to do medicine, his eyes are really blind. Even if he is a genius, he cannot be proficient in everything. But admiration is admiration, and being unhappy is really unhappy. West Midtown, or Hell's Kitchen. This is the world of gangsters. It is also the world of the poor. Here, even in broad daylight, you can see drug dealers dealing above board. And a few meters away, there may be a policeman standing there. The drug dealers will not be nervous because of this, and even after the transaction is completed, they will greet the police with a smile on their faces. Because in Hell's Kitchen, the words of the police are useless. Here, the words of the gangsters are the most useful, and the most famous gangster is Jin Bin. Here, no matter who it is, when mentioning the word Jin Bin, they are either jealous, respectful, or fearful. But few people know what Jin Bin looks like. But everyone knows, don't provoke him, offend him, because he is very dangerous. One thing everyone in Hell's Kitchen knows lately is that Jin Bin hasn't been in a good mood lately. Because I heard that someone secretly attacked his subordinates, which caused him to lose a lot of goods and money. Losing money is one, and the other is losing face. For a mafia emperor like him, it is inevitable to find his way back after being tricked by others. No one knows when Kim will retaliate. But one thing is for sure, he has definitely hit the ground running. Hey, little sister, where are you going? 2 white men blocked a figure. The one who was stopped by them was a little girl with blonde hair and a pair of ponytails who looked only 12 or 13 years old. She has a pair of beautiful big eyes like sapphires, blinking and blinking, very beautiful. Stopped by 2 punks, the little girl looked panicked. She shrank her neck slightly, tightened the backpack on her body, and then quickened her pace, obviously trying to get rid of these two people by detour. But those two gangsters obviously didn't intend to just let her go. The two looked at each other. Toby, I have a nice idea in my head right now. Maybe we don't necessarily think the same. Toby smiled at his companion. After speaking, the two stretched out their hands, one left and one right, and grabbed the little girl. Then ran to a side alley. Many passers-by saw this scene. But those who passed by, those who ignored. Even if they already guessed what those two guys were going to do to that cute little girl. But no one chose to follow, trying to save that cute little girl. Are you kidding? This is Hell's Kitchen. The good guys are in Hell's Kitchen. They are definitely rare animals among rare animals. Here, selfishness is the label for all. It's no use trying to get them to do good, unless you put a gun to their heads and make them do good. Otherwise, expect their conscience to find out, and you may not be able to wait for it in your next life. What do you want to do to me? The girl seemed to suddenly understand what Toby and the two were going to do to her, her voice trembling slightly. The girl's voice is very smart. Falling into the ears of the two, it sounds like the sound of nature. The two immediately walked faster with the girl in hand. Soon, they came to the depths of an alley. Don't be afraid, we won't do anything to you, we just want to teach you a fun game. You'll love this game. What kind of game is that? The girl's voice sounded again, but the previous panic and fear had disappeared from her face, replaced by a playful expression, as if she saw some fun toy. Toby was stunned. What's the matter? Boom. There was the sound of an object being kicked. The next second, while Toby was still wondering, he suddenly felt as if he had been hit on the lower part of his body, followed by a sharp pain, which made his brain go blank. There was a plop on the ground, and a pig-like cry came from his mouth, which showed how much pain he was having at the moment. Toby's good brother was stunned for a moment. I just felt a cold in my crotch. He looked down, and saw that the girl who should have been terrified was slowly withdrawing her feet in white stockings, and then looked at him jokingly. Feeling the teasing in the other's eyes, the man froze. For a moment, he seemed to remember something. There was a look of horror on his face. With weak legs, he was staggered by a stone, and fell back to the ground. Finally sat down on the ground. You are that violent Lolita, how come? There are rumors in the world that recently a beautiful loli appeared in Hell's Kitchen, who only wanted to kill punks like them. I thought it was just a joke, but I didn't expect the rumor to be true. It seems that I am very famous now. The girl smiled, and the banter on her face was even stronger. But this expression fell in the man's eyes, and he was even more afraid because he knew that he had guessed right. His face was pale, and he hurriedly got up from the ground. He didn't even go to see his good brother Toby, nor did he think about taking him to escape. Instead, he ran straight to the entrance of the alley with his feet loose. The girl did not go after him. Instead, he brought the school bag he was carrying from behind to the front. Then unhurriedly unzipped the bag. Then put your right hand into the bag. When she took out her right hand, she already had a dagger in her hand. Then, she threw the dagger in her hand with lightning speed. The man has already run to the entrance of the alley, and he can leave the alley with just one turn. He seems to have seen hope fighting against himself. Pissed, the sound of a sharp weapon piercing into flesh sounded. The man wondered where the voice came from, and it was so clear. However, he obviously didn't have time to analyze these things, because at the same time, he felt that his consciousness gradually began to blur. Thump. The man lay face down on the ground, motionless. At the back of his head, at this moment, a short knife that was half-synced was inserted. It was the dagger thrown by the girl just now. Solved the person who was about to escape. The girl turned her attention to Toby, who was howling on the ground. At this moment, he was looking at the girl in horror. Because he had discovered the death of his companion. Fear made him lose control of his emotions directly. Tears and snot run down his face. No, don't kill me, I apologize, I lose money, I will do anything you want me to do, just don't kill me, please. Toby begged for mercy. He's just an ordinary fool. Regarding death, he hadn't made up his mind a long time ago. The reason why he became a gangster was because he was a beginner in this industry, and if he was more courageous, he could earn money quickly and live a comfortable life. But he was equally afraid of death. Hell's Kitchen is full of people like him. He never thought that one day death would be so close to him. Facing Toby's begging for mercy, the girl didn't speak, but showed a cruel smile. She has seen many scum like Toby, and Toby is not the first scum to attack her. She is very clear that letting these scumbags go is tantamount to helping the evildoers, and someone will definitely pay for it in the future. And the best way to deal with people like Toby is to send them to hell once and for all. What are you asking of me? I beg you. Boom. A gunshot rang out, and Toby's voice stopped abruptly, because he already had a bullet hole in his forehead, and blood was flowing from it. A lock pistol did not know when it appeared in the girl's hands. The muzzle was still emitting white smoke. Outside the alley, Shu Hong happened to pass by. Suddenly, he heard gunshots coming from the alley. As expected of Hell's Kitchen, there are shootings in broad daylight. Shu Hong curled his lips and was about to leave. He didn't come to Hell's Kitchen to hang out, he came here for his own purpose. At this moment, he was wearing a white casual outfit, with a pair of black glasses on the bridge of his nose. These are not ordinary glasses, but a rule prop. Not only is it indestructible, after wearing it, even the people who know you best stand in front of you and cannot recognize you. It's a bit similar to Da Chao's glasses, but Shu Hong's is more powerful, and Shu Hong named him Contact Lens. It is precisely because of the contact lens that Shu Hong dared to walk alone on the street. Now he is more popular than Tony Stark in the United States. All kinds of newspapers are full of his photos. Even white people will be a little face blind when looking at Asians, but every day they brush your face and appear in your line of sight, so that everyone can remember and distinguish Shu Hong's appearance. If he came out without some preparation, he would never go anywhere. It is estimated that he was blocked by those crazy reporters as soon as he went out. Adding those desperados who hit their own attention. You can't do it without some preparation. He was not afraid of being stared at, mainly because it was troublesome to be stared at all the time, and Shu Hong hated trouble. This time in Hell's Kitchen, Shu Hong came to find Jin Bing. Did he come to see Jin and reminisce about the old days? The two are not friends. After all, the two are still enemies. After Miracle Medicine got up, Shu Hong faced more than 20 assassinations both on the surface and in secret. Among them, more than 10 times were done by Jin and others. Previously, Shu Hong was busy with company affairs, so he couldn't leave at all, so he didn't have time to pay attention to Jin Bin for the time being. Now he has arranged all the company's affairs. Coupled with the medium-level artificial intelligence he just redeemed, the company has stabilized and there will be no problems. Shu Hong finally had time to deal with other matters. Shu Hong is not a person who likes to cause trouble, but he is definitely not a person who will swallow his anger. Jin didn't dare to attack him. Shu Hong wanted to take revenge. He is not a generous man. So he came to Hell's Kitchen. As for how to find Jin Bing, this is not difficult for Shu Hong. With a system, he has countless ways to find Jin Bin. Even if he hides at a depth of 100,000 meters underground, Shu Hong can dig him out. Shu Hong was about to leave. There was a sound of quick steps. A figure appeared in Shu Hong's sight. It was a young girl who was walking and jogging, and she didn't look very big. Seemingly noticing Shu Hong's gaze, the other party also glanced at Shu Hong. The eyes of the two collided in the air. Shu Hong was a little surprised because he knew this girl. Super Killer, a street hero from Kickoff King, a violent Lolita. Shu Hong is not surprised that Killer Girl will appear in Hell's Kitchen. The violent loli of Super Killer is not simple. Don't look at her appearance, she looks harmless to humans and animals, cute and beautiful. But in fact, the lives she has messed with are no less than those top-notch killers. Definitely, those who died at the hands of Super Killer are all villains. This is a street hero who hates evil and is similar to the Punisher. It's hard to say about her combat effectiveness, but killing people is definitely her specialty. Seeing Super Killer leaving with her school bag on her back, Shu Hong looked away when she could hardly see the other person. Then continued to walk forward. At the same time that Shu Hong turned around, Super Killer also reappeared in his perspective just now. The difference is that the identities of the two have changed this time, and the one stared at from the back has become Shu Hong. That guy's eyes just now, he seems to know me. Super killer Mindy McCred watched Shu Hong's back, recalling the hasty glance with Shu Hong just now. She was sure that she saw surprise in Shu Hong's eyes. This shows that Shu Hong may know her. But she has no friends at all, and her only relative is Lao Su. Not yet. It stands to reason that no one should know her. But Shu Hong's eyes just now were unmistakable, they definitely knew her eyes. As a professional killer, she believed in her own judgment. With doubts, she did not choose to leave. Instead, he stepped up to keep up with Shu Hong. But Shu Hong didn't realize that someone was following him. One is that he has no anti-reconnaissance ability. The second is that it doesn't matter. Even if someone wants to harm him, he must first consider whether he has that ability. Soon, Shu Hong arrived outside a manor villa. This is Hell's Kitchen, the home of Scorpion boss Ivan Duke. The Scorpion Gang is a big gang in Hell's Kitchen, with hundreds of members. On weekdays, he not only sells fans, but also does arms business. He is one of the most prominent gangsters in Hell's Kitchen. But few people know that Ivan Duke is actually one of Jin Bing's younger brothers. Jin doesn't live in Hell's Kitchen, but because he lost a lot of goods and money a while ago, he needs to investigate this matter clearly and find out who is behind it. So he came to Ivan Duke, intending to hand over this matter to Ivan Duke to investigate. At the same time, there is also the meaning of coming to warn Ivan Duke. Because Jin Bing found that his subordinate had started to feel a little restless recently. Started to make some little moves behind the scenes. If Ivan Duke hadn't been his right-hand man, he would have had him killed long ago. This trip in person, apart from talking to him, the main purpose is to warn Ivan Duke. As for Jin Bing's personal visit, Ivan Duke also looked terrified. He knew very well who Jin was, cruel, cold-blooded, and most importantly, Jin was very smart. It's hard to play him. In the villa, Jin he was sitting on the sofa, and his huge size almost completely suppressed the sofa. And Duke was standing in front of him with cold sweat on his forehead. Duke, you should know why I came to your house this time. Duke looked terrified and didn't dare to look at Jin at all. I promise this is the last time. Duke knew very well why Jin Bin showed up at his house in person. He didn't even know Kim had come to his house until he came home. You know, this is his home. Before opening the door, he brought a beautiful girl with her face full of drunkenness. But after turning on the light, he saw a strong bald man sitting on his sofa, and a room full of tall men in black suits. He woke up instantly. It's not that he's timid. If he was timid, he wouldn't be the boss of the Scorpion Gang. The reason why he was afraid was because he knew Jin Bin's cruelty and horror too well. Remember what you said now, because you won't have a chance to regret it. Jin Bing said coldly. Duke nodded quickly. I understand. Duke breathed a sigh of relief. He knew Jin and gave himself a chance, otherwise he would probably be a dead man at this moment. I have something for you to do. Michael lost his goods 3 times. I want you to find the person behind the scenes and bring him to me. Can you do it? Yes. Whether you can or not, say yes first. He is well aware of Jin Bin's character, and those without abilities will only be abandoned by him. He didn't want to be the one who was abandoned. 3 days, I'll give you 3 days, within 3 days, I must meet someone. I understand. Duke didn't go to bargain, because he knew that bargaining was useless here in Jinbin. And in Jin Bin's view, bargaining is just an excuse for incompetence. Be careful. At this moment, a tall figure suddenly ran up to Jin Bing. Everyone still doesn't know what happened. The next second, a rocket flew in from the window of the villa. Boom! With that came huge amounts of explosions. The room was suddenly swept by flames and heat waves. Duke was thrown flying in an instant. Those unprepared men in black also staggered for a while. In front of Jin Bin, Bullseye was carrying a wooden table. The wooden table has broken a bit. The violent explosion and impact caused Bullseye's face to be covered in blood. It looked very miserable. Definitely, that is to say, it looked a little miserable, because there was something blocking him, and he wasn't actually seriously injured, it just looked terribly injured. Jin Bin behind him was not injured at all. Boss, it's for you. Bullseye's voice sounded. This rocket was obviously aimed at gold. The target is too obvious. Jin Bin had a gloomy face. He didn't expect his whereabouts to be leaked. As for who is targeting yourself, he really couldn't guess this for a while. After all, he has many enemies. And his apparent identity is a great philanthropist. So who knew his true identity, his location, and attacked him? Definitely, he just thought about it, and then recovered his mind. Because now is not the time to think about it. Take someone to intercept it. Jin Bin looked at the bullseye and gave an order. After speaking, he stood up from the sofa. Then go straight to the back. To be a general is not to take risks easily. Jin did not choose to confront the enemy because of his anger, he only planned to leave here now. Then find out who is targeting him, who attacked him, and then retaliate fiercely. He will let those who dare to attack him understand what the consequences of offending him are. As soon as Jin Bin walked away, the sound of heavy machine guns sounded from his back. Jin Bing, who just got into the car, twitched his mouth slightly. Do you want to be so exaggerated? This is New York, even if Hell's Kitchen isn't a great place. But it also belongs to New York, and the heavy machine guns are all set up. How much the other party wants him to die. And those fools of S.H.I.E.L.D., didn't they stare at him very hard before? As a result, now that some people are using heavy machine guns, they don't respond, which makes Jin feel sick for a while. Go for it, Nick Fury. After a few minutes, Shu Hong walked among the piles of corpses. Shu Hong did not see Jin Bing's body among the pair of corpses. Knowing that the other party should have left first. At this moment, he suddenly felt a strong crisis on his forehead. There is no need for the main consciousness to control the body to move. Spider telepathy had already controlled Shu Hong's head to twist immediately. At the same time, a bullet grazed Shu Hong's scalp. If he was 1 second slower, Shu Hong would definitely be headshot by this bullet. Someone was secretly sniping him. This was the first thought in Shu Hong's brain. On a building 200 meters away, Bullseye dropped the gun in his hand, turned around and left without the slightest hesitation. He had no intention of firing a second shot at all. Because he just saw it clearly. The opponent turned his head before he shot, avoiding the killing blow. What does this mean? This means that the other party is not an ordinary person. As the #1 killer under Jin Bing, he has killed many people and contacted many people. Among them, there are also some freaks. Some of those freaks are easy to deal with, while others are very dangerous. And Shu Hong is obviously a freak. A freak who can foresee a crisis and make preparations in advance. This means that it is very difficult for him to kill Shu Hong. Even being killed by the opponent, it is meaningless to continue. Leaving here is the best choice. Because as long as he lives, he will kill Shu Hong sooner or later. To deal with such a freak, he needs to plan and prepare, instead of directly confronting the opponent without thinking. Touching his forehead, the wound wiped out by the bullet has healed, because the recovery was so fast that it healed without even bleeding. But Shu Hong knew that he had just been injured. But he didn't go after the person who just sniped him. He already guessed who the person who just sniped him was. Shu Hong didn't regret not killing Jin Bing. He did this just to scare the snake away. It was easy for Shu Hong to kill Jin Bin. Transforming directly, he didn't even have a chance to escape. But he didn't. 1. He doesn't want to reveal the fact that he can transform for the time being, because it is related to his next plan. 2. He didn't want to kill Jin Bin just like that. Because in Shu Hong's view, it would be too cheap to kill Jin Bing directly. He planned to torture Jin Bin slowly, everything today was just an appetizer. He wants Jin He to live in a nightmare, so that he can't sleep well when he is assassinated. Buy a barrel of gasoline from the system. Shu Hong walked directly outside. When he walked to the door, he raised his hand and pointed at the gasoline. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the room suddenly turned into a sea of flames. Soon, the entire villa was surrounded by raging fire. And Shu Hong also raised his foot and left here. He had already heard the sound of a police car, and if he didn't leave here, there might be a little trouble. He didn't bother to explain to the police why he was here. Just walked out not far. A figure stopped in front of him. Shu Hong was a little surprised. Because he had just met this person before. The place you attacked just now is the villa of Ivan Duke, the boss of the Scorpion Gang. Do you have a grudge against the Scorpion Gang? Mindy said first. No, I have nothing against Jin. Shu Hong shook his head and said. As for whether it would be wrong to tell Mindy about it directly. Shu Hong knew the identity of Superkiller and what kind of person she was, so he told her directly about it. It was nothing. Moreover, before, Shu Hong was still thinking about where to find someone to assassinate Jin every once in a while. But now, a suitable candidate appeared in front of him, and he had no reason not to. Jin Bin. Superkiller looked surprised. Her surprise was not because of Jin Bin, but because Shu Hong had a grudge against Jin Bin. Who is Jin Bin? She naturally knows, the underworld emperor in Hell's Kitchen. There is no one in Hell's Kitchen who does not know Jin Bin. And she, who has been making trouble for gangsters and killing various gang leaders, naturally knows who Jin Bing is. It was precisely because she knew who Jin Bing was that she was surprised that Shu Hong and Jin Bing had an enmity. Then why did you attack here? Shu Hong looked at Mindy. You really want to know? Definitely. Mindy nodded. Why do you think I'm going to tell you? Because you know me, the way you looked at me before told me that you know me, so you will tell me why. Shu Hong laughed when he heard this. Don't underestimate Mindy. This girl is not only hot and ruthless, but also very smart. Especially the eyes are really good. I do know you, and you're right. Mindy was surprised, but didn't show it. She began to wonder whether Shu Hong knew her because he knew Big Daddy. But she thinks that's unlikely. You want to know why I attacked here? Then I'll tell you, because just Jinbin is in the villa. How do you know? Mindy didn't doubt Shu Hong's words. Because the other party didn't need to lie to her. She was only curious about how Shu Hong knew about this. This is a secret, I will tell you when I have a chance in the future. Now, let's talk about you. Shu Hong pointed to Mindy. Me. Mindy was a little surprised. That's right, it's you. I know what you are doing, but you are fighting alone. Frankly speaking, the speed at which you kill those scumbags is not as fast as their growth rate. You are not efficient enough. Then how can it be efficient? Well, I'll teach you later. Now, let me introduce myself first. My name is Shu Hong. You can call me Shu directly. As for my identity, you will know it later. As the magician right, I saw you suddenly change into a bazooka, a heavy machine gun, and that barrel of gasoline. I saw them all, Mindy said. She told everything she knew. In this way, some unnecessary misunderstandings can be reduced. Most importantly, she and Shu Hong are not enemies. Ever since Shu Hong took action against the gangsters, she had already regarded Shu Hong as someone on her side. They might still be friends if Shu Hong wanted to. After all, this was the first time she met someone who dared to attack the gangsters. And when he started his hands, he was even more ruthless than her. There were quite a few people in that villa just now. Most of them died in the hands of Shu Hong. At least 20 or more. You can think so. Shu Hong didn't deny it. The magician is just the magician, so I don't have to explain it myself. Although you may already know my identity, Mr. Magician, I think I still need to introduce myself. My name is Mindy Macred, you can just call me Mindy. Okay, Mindy, are you going to visit my house next? Definitely. Mindy did not refuse Shu Hong's invitation. Soon, the two left Hell's Kitchen. Then he took a taxi to Shu Hong's residence in New York. A luxurious detached villa located in the center of the city. This is not Shu Hong's only villa, but one of them. Definitely, the villa he came to now is a hidden villa, at least it has nothing to do with Shu Hong, the boss of Miracle Group. So there is nothing outside the villa to remember the paparazzi. Shu Hong led Mindy directly into the villa in a swaggering manner. Following behind Shu Hong, Mindy looked surprised. Because she didn't expect Shu Hong to be so rich and live in this kind of place. Welcome to my home, you are the first guest here, Mindy. Shu Hong walked in front, opened the door and said at the same time. Following Shu Hong into the villa, Mindy found that there was more space inside. The outermost is a huge garden, the house is in the center of the garden, and in the garden, there are two large private swimming pools. On the left side of the garden is a parking lot. There are more than a dozen sports cars parked there. The residential area in the middle is very large, and the decoration inside is also very luxurious. The floor is as clean as a mirror. Just entering the room, Shu Hong clapped his hands. The whole room suddenly lit up, and all the lights were turned on. "Welcome back, sir," a voice sounded. Mindy looked at Shu Hong suspiciously. "It's my smart butler, I named him Michael." "Michael, this is Mindy, give her level 3 authority here." "Okay, sir." Michael first responded to Shu Hong, and then greeted Mindy. "Hi, nice to meet you, Miss Mindy." "Michael, the big angel beside God." "Hello, Michael, nice to meet you too," Mindy exclaimed. She was amazed not because of Michael's name, but because of his intelligence. This is definitely not a general artificial intelligence, this may be a super artificial intelligence. Mindy suddenly became more curious about Shu Hong's identity. Being rich, living in such a luxurious villa, and having an unusual artificial intelligence butler, this shows that Shu Hong is definitely not an ordinary person. "Mr. Magician, is it true that all magicians are as rich as you?" "And Michael, isn't it an ordinary artificial intelligence?" "Definitely not." Shu Hong smiled. "As for who I am." Shu Hong took off the contact lens on the bridge of his nose while speaking. Without the contact lens, Mindy recognized Shu Hong immediately. No way, for the past 2 weeks, Shu Hong's photos have bombarded people all over the United States. Now it's much easier to find someone in the United States who doesn't know Tony Stark than someone who doesn't know Shu Hong. You are the new rich man." Mindy was stunned. In the current United States, Shu Hong is definitely more popular than Tony Stark. Although Tony Stark blew himself up as Iron Man, which made his popularity soaring, his popularity couldn't be compared with Shu Hong's during this period. After all, Miracle Medicine's 1-month revenue is really great. This is only the first month's revenue, and it is conceivable that its second month's revenue will only be more exaggerated. After all, most of this month's revenue is contributed by the people of the United States, until Miracle Medicine sells its products all over the world. It is not a problem to double the revenue again. This is a very promising company, and it is certain that Shu Hong will become the richest man in the world in the future. It never occurred to Mindy that the Mr. Magic in front of him was the new super rich man. "Yes, it's me." Shu Hong nodded. "Is it because of the glasses?" Shu Hong nodded. "Just like Superman's glasses, when you wear them, no matter how familiar you are, people won't recognize you." "It's really cool," Mindy exclaimed. "Can I own a pair of glasses like this?" Mindy asked aloud. Such a pair of glasses is simply the dream of a professional killer like her, because as long as she has a pair of such glasses, her infiltration work will be much easier. "Definitely yes, this pair is yours." Shu Hong handed the glasses he took off to Mindy. "The price of this thing in the system is not cheap, and a pair costs $20 million US. This was a huge sum of money for him at the beginning, but it is completely worthless for him now. It's okay to send Mindy a pair. Thank you." After Mindy took the glasses, she couldn't wait to put them on. From Shu Hong's perspective, Mindy's appearance hasn't changed much, but his subjective consciousness will subconsciously ignore him. Obviously he was staring at Mindy, but when he suddenly realized that the situation was wrong, he found that his eyes on Mindy had already moved away. "You're welcome, this is a small gift for our first meeting. Come with me, I have many other good things here, I think you will be interested." In a blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Inside a U.S. military base. Emil Bronsky is shirtless looking at his emaciated self in the mirror. His arms are very slender, and his entire upper body looks as if his muscles have shrunk, making him look very thin. This look is nothing like what a battle-hardened super soldier should look like. Because he wasn't strong enough, he looked too thin. But Bronsky is well aware that he has never felt more powerful than he does now. He could feel the powerful force in his body as if it was about to explode. Slowly, a wild smile appeared on his face. He finally obtained the power he had always dreamed of. Still very powerful. Bruce Banner, this is really a powerful force. Now, this force does not belong to you alone, ha 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 ha. Bronsky smiled wantonly. But soon, his face turned cold. Because he felt that such power should only be possessed by him alone. Bruce Banner, on the other hand, did not deserve such power at all. "Bruce, I will find you. This time, I will definitely kill you." Bruce Banner has been trying to find a way to give up his power. And he had always wanted to obtain such power before, and Banner's disdain for power made him feel angry. So Bronsky was going to kill Bruce Banner. But that guy didn't know where he went now, and he couldn't find him for the time being, so naturally he couldn't kill him. But he doesn't worry about that, because Ross has been looking for the trace of Bruce Banner, and he believes that Ross will give him the answer soon. Sure enough, not long after, the headset he put aside suddenly rang. "I'm Yosh, is Major Emil Bronsky there?" "I'm here." Bronsky picked up the headset and said, "Please gather at the airport as soon as possible and prepare to depart. We have already found the target." "Okay, I'll be right there." Bronsky didn't talk nonsense. There was a hint of excitement on his face. "Bruce Banner, this time, let me see where you are going." New York, Stark Building. Tony Stark, who has just become Iron Man, has not yet discovered the effect of the arc reactor on his body. Now he is immersed in the joy of being Iron Man. The only thing that annoyed him was that Shu Hong stole his limelight. Although he has successfully attracted the attention of a lot of media, he has regained his limelight. But now he is still being suppressed by Shu Hong. What made him speechless the most was that that guy usually stole the limelight that belonged to him without revealing much. "Sir, maybe you should take a look at this." Jarvis' voice suddenly sounded. Then the room suddenly went dark, and a projector projected a video image. In the picture, two big green monsters are fighting in a lively urban area, and their destruction is very exaggerated. The 1 or 2 ton car on the side of the road was in their hands, just like a toy car, and it was easily picked up. With one step down, the solid concrete road will be full of cracks. Many houses next to it have either been destroyed or are burning raging fire. The scene is full of destruction, and the screams of passers-by around. "What's the situation, Jarvis?" Tony Stark frowned and said, "Sir, this is what's happening right now near Columbia University in Manhattan." "I mean those two green things, what are they?" "The identities of the two have been confirmed. One of them is Dr. Bruce Banner, who graduated from MIT. He has 7 doctorates and is a veritable genius. Definitely, he may not be as good as you, sir. Another one, a major in the Department of the Army, Emil Bronsky, who served under Lieutenant General Thaddeus Ross, who has been working on the Super Soldier program." In the blank space on the side, photos of the 3 of them were projected. He didn't know Banner and Bronsky, but he was no stranger to Ross and Tony. After all, the main business of Stark Industries in history was the arms business. He had contact with Ross, the powerful general of the army. To be honest, he doesn't like Ross very much. "Sir, due to the battle between the two, dozens of people have been killed and injured, and the estimated economic loss has reached $1 billion. Tony nodded. "Jarvis, assemble the armor, I'm going to have a look." Soon, a red figure flew out from above the Stark building, aiming at the direction of Columbia University in Manhattan. "Those 2 big green guys are your targets?" Mindy asked in a building dressed in superkiller women's clothing standing next to Shu Hong. "Definitely, the black eye patch that belonged to Superkiller has been replaced by the contact lens that Shu Hong gave her. And Shu Hong is also wearing a pair of black contact lenses." "That's right. There are too many people who have made up my mind. I have to let them know that I am something they can't afford." Mindy looked at the 2 monsters in the distance, and then at Shu Hong. "Are you sure you can deal with those 2 monsters?" Seeing the destructive power of the 2 monsters, Mindy couldn't help feeling worried for Shu Hong. The destructive power of those 2 monsters is really too exaggerated. Their defenses are similarly exaggerated. The heavy machine gun loaded by the armed helicopter can directly smash a person into pieces, but it can't even break the defense when it hits the 2 monsters. She really couldn't imagine how Shu Hong would deal with those 2 monsters. "Definitely, you have to have confidence in me." Shu Hong laughed. While speaking, Shu Hong turned on the system. "System, I want to buy an item, Super Speed X-Men Quicksilver version. Successful purchase of goods $9.5 billion. Phil money will strengthen the system." Host, Shu Hong. Age, 22. Race, human race. Show yuan, 350. Money, $38 billion. Item, none. Ability, plain teleportation, half a month cooling time. Money can be used to upgrade, reduce cooling time, super self-healing regeneration, cold weapon proficiency, hot weapon proficiency, super speed X-Men Quicksilver version, green titanization, perfect version. The perfect version of the Green Titan serum allows Shu Hong to have stronger strength and defense than the Green Titan banner and abomination. But to say that it is overwhelming, it is not enough. It is still a little bit difficult to suppress the two in a short time. If you don't pursue a short-term solution to the battle, the person who wins in the end will definitely be Shu Hong. But what Shu Hong wanted was to end the battle in a short time, preferably at an overwhelming speed. Only in this way can he achieve his goal. So he just gave himself a super speed. The X-Men version of Quicksilver's super speed is much, much faster than Marvel's Quicksilver. You know, the Quicksilver of the X-Men saved the mutants of the entire X-Men Academy at the moment of the explosion, but the Quicksilver of the Marvel world died from a stray bullet. It's just embarrassing. So when Shu Hong bought super speed, he naturally bought the X-Men version of Quicksilver's super speed. Definitely, what he wants to buy more is the Flash's Speed Force, but that thing is very expensive, not much cheaper than Superman serum, and his current money is not even a fraction, so he can't afford it at all. First buy an X-Men version of Quicksilver's super speed to make do with it, no problem at all. And the X-Men version of Quicksilver is not slow. Compared with the Flash's super speed, it must be slow, but compared to ordinary people, Quicksilver's speed is definitely exaggerated. It can be seen from the plot in X-Men's Reversal of the Future that his speed is more than 30 times the speed of sound, and this is all his full strength. With extreme speed and powerful strength, the current Shu Hong has undoubtedly surpassed the superheroes of Marvel's first echelon. Crushing the Hulk and the Abomination is no longer a problem for him. Then when do you plan to make a move? Let them continue to fight. It is estimated that the entire Manhattan area will be affected. No hurry, it's not time for me to make a move yet. Shu Hong took off his glasses on the bridge of his nose while speaking. The main character always comes at the end, doesn't he? Shu Hong looked at Mindy and said with a smile. Because he has already seen a familiar figure flying towards this side at an extremely fast speed. The person who came was none other than Tony Stark, the driver Mark III. In the helicopter, Ross is struggling with Bronski's loss of control. Even if he is a lieutenant general in the army, if he comes here in the downtown area, the subsequent troubles will give him a headache. Even early retirement is not out of the question. Where is this? This is Manhattan. Not a suburb. Even he can't stand the pressure to engage in destruction here. It was originally thought that Bronski had injected the serum and gained the same power as the Green Titan. Bruce Banner would definitely not be his opponent, and he could quickly end the battle. Capture Bruce Banner. Who knew that the capture of Bruce Banner was very successful? Instead, Bronski lost control. Because of his hatred for Hulk, the guy directly lost control, turned into a monster, and started to wreak havoc in the city. And let Hulk go out and fight him. And let this matter go, who knows what Bronski will do to Manhattan. In desperation, he could only send Bruce Banner to fight Bronski. But the battle between the two further aggravated the damage. And depending on the situation, the battle between the two obviously cannot end in a short time. Because from the current point of view, the two seem to be unable to do anything to each other, and the battle has reached a stalemate. It made Ross's head suddenly bigger. The battle cannot end quickly, and more things will be destroyed. And these losses will definitely be counted on his head in the end. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. He even vaguely saw the picture of himself stepping down. Ross was worried about his stepping down, and his daughter Betty was worried about Banner's safety, because the battle between the two sides looked more like Bronski had a slight advantage. General, a target is approaching rapidly. What? Ross was taken aback by what the flight crew said. A target is approaching us fast. Needless to say, I've seen it. The corner of Ross's mouth twitched, because Tony Stark was already hovering in front of their plane at this moment. General Ross, I didn't expect to see you here. By the way, the two monsters below may not have escaped from your laboratory. I heard that you have been researching super soldiers. The mask opened, revealing Tony Stark's face. Then he spit out the words that offended others. Ross. Mr. Stark, are you here just to laugh at me? Ross was speechless and angry. But what Tony Stark said was true. And facing this guy, even he can't do anything to him. Tony Stark is not an ordinary super rich man. Even if he is a powerful general in the army, he can't do anything to Tony Stark. Definitely not. In fact, I'm here to clean up the mess. After speaking, Tony's eyes stayed on Betty for a moment. I really didn't expect to see a beautiful lady here. I wonder if I will be lucky enough to invite you to dinner after this incident. Tony smiled handsomely. It's a pity that Betty didn't like him. Definitely, before Betty could speak, Ross had already spoken first. Mr. Stark, Betty won't get in touch with a playboy like you, you'd better stay away from her. Sir, this Miss Betty is the daughter of General Ross. The voice of Jarvis also rang in Tony's ear at the right time. Well, it seems that I have no chance, so it's time to get down to business. Tony didn't care about Ross's words, and he wasn't embarrassed. After all, he was quite thick-skinned. Mr. Stark, please don't hurt Banner. Don't worry, Miss Betty, your little boyfriend won't be hurt that easily. After speaking, Tony stopped talking nonsense. As soon as the mask was off, the whole person flew directly towards the two green guys below. He is fast. Boom. The classic superhero landed. Tony fell directly next to the Hulk and the Abomination. His sudden arrival immediately attracted the attention of the two green guys. Hey, two big guys, I think maybe you should calm down. Tony's voice sounded. But what greeted him were two big green hands. Well, it seems that you don't really want to listen to my advice. Tony is still very confident about the power system of the Mark III armor. This means that the power of this set of armor is not small. So he didn't avoid it, but took the initiative to meet it. But he underestimated the power of the Hulk and the Abomination. The strength of the two sides is not of the same magnitude at all. The moment the two sides collided, Tony flew out. After flying hundreds of meters in a row, it just hit the wall of a building, stopped, and was buried by a pile of stones. After a while, he lifted the stones on his body and crawled out from the pile of stones. Sir, 23% of the armor is damaged. Tony had some difficulty accepting it for a while. He had always bullied those ordinary people before, making him feel that those criminals were just like that. But Hulk and the Abomination gave him a straight-up moment, letting him know what it means to be someone other than someone else. Definitely, the most important thing is that he felt that the scene just now was too embarrassing. He is a majestic Iron Man, but he was slapped away with a single slap. It feels no easier than killing a fly. Especially when he noticed that the two green guys fought together after shooting him flying, and they didn't take him seriously, which made him a little angry. So, he decided to teach those two guys a good lesson. Definitely, Tony has also learned to be smart. He was not approaching the two monsters, but planned to attack them from a distance. On his armor, he is armed with his modified version of the Jericho missile. The warhead is smaller and less powerful, but it is more convenient to carry. Opening the back slot of the armor, 4 Jericho missiles were pushed out. Then the thruster pushed 4 Jericho missiles out, targeting the Hulk and the Abomination. The speed of the 4 missiles was fast, reaching Hulk and the Abomination almost instantly. Boom boom boom. The violent explosion instantly set off a gust of wind. Even the helicopter that Ross and the others were in was swayed by the strong wind, looking like it was about to crash. Even though the power of Tony's improved Jericho missile has been reduced a lot, the improved version of the Jericho missile is still very powerful. Although it is an urban area. But there were no passers-by around, so Tony naturally didn't need to estimate, and could directly release such a big killer. If there were passers-by around, he would definitely not do this. After all, even the improved version of the Jericho missile is very powerful. In terms of destructive power and impact, it is not much worse than ordinary strategic weapons. Even the Green Titan and the Abomination were thrown out. This made Tony very satisfied. At least he found his way back. But it didn't take long for him to be happy. In the next second, a green figure rushed towards Tony. Fortunately, Tony reacted quickly and dodged it. Jarvis, something just flew past. On the other side, a voice of hatred and anger came. You bloody bug, I'm going to tear you apart. It turned out that the figure that flew past just now was none other than Hatred. What Tony had done had pissed him off. The modified Jericho missile did not kill him, but it did injure him. He was broken, but his resilience was very strong, and he recovered from his injury almost instantly. But being hurt by Tony still made him feel angry. So he planned to let Banner go first, to deal with Tony, the annoying bug. Looks like I made you angry. Tony hadn't spoken yet. A car flew over suddenly. This car was thrown by Hulk. Apparently, he's not only getting annoyed, but even the Hulk is pissed off by him. Because his back was facing, Tony didn't know there was a car flying behind him. And he was tens of meters high. He never thought that there would be a car that could fly so high and hit him. So he was hit by a car and just hit the ground. Boom. Fall from the ground tens of meters high. Even with the protection of the shock absorption system of the battle armor, Tony was still thrown in a mess, very uncomfortable. Wait until he comes back to his senses. He found himself in the hands of hatred. You bloody little bug. While hating talking, Tony also noticed that the other party was gradually increasing his strength. Sir, the armor is getting more and more damaged. If you don't respond, you may be crushed into a puddle of flesh in 8 seconds. The voice of Jarvis sounded in the armor. Jarvis, is the shoulder cannon still available? Yes, sir. Then what are you waiting for? Aim this guy in the eyes and hit him for me. Okay, sir. As Jarvis's words fell, Mark III's shoulders opened, and then 2 minigun barrels rose. An attack on the Abomination followed. The Abomination hadn't anticipated this scene. So much so that he was completely unprepared. The shoulder cannon slammed into his face mercilessly. Huge amounts of impact directly knocked him into the air. It also made him let go of Tony Stark. After getting out of control, Tony already had the idea of getting out of here. The defenses of these 2 monsters are too exaggerated, and the weapons equipped on the Mark III cannot deal with them at all. He needs to go back to the Stark building to find weapons that can deal with these 2 monsters. So after getting out of control, Tony Stark directly activated the flight system, intending to leave here. But it failed to fly. Sir, the flight system is damaged. If you want to return to the Stark building, I suggest you take a taxi. Heard Jarvis. Even Tony was speechless. You don't need to think about it. Either the flight system was damaged when it just fell, or the flight system was damaged by the Abomination. Mr. Stark, your condition doesn't look very good. Just then, a voice suddenly sounded beside him. Tony froze for a moment. What's the situation? Is there anyone else here? Turning his head, he immediately saw who the speaker was. When he saw the other person's face clearly, Tony was very surprised. Because he didn't expect to see this guy here. It's you. That person was none other than Shu Hong. This guy stole his limelight during this period, but it made him very unhappy. But the two have never actually met. And this time, it was their first meeting. The first meeting of 2 super rich people. It seems that Mr. Stark, you know me, maybe it's because I stole your limelight, so you. What are you talking about? Boy, you can steal my limelight. That's only temporary, and soon, you will be forgotten by them. It seems that you have admitted it. Tony. When a person is in a hurry, his mouth will not listen. I advise you to leave here as soon as pointed in the direction of the Abomination. The guy has gotten up from the ground. Tony's attack on his eyes just now caused him a lot of damage. But his strong resilience has made him recover. But it also made him angrier, crazier.